Ian wrapped his arms around the man and threw him to the ground, disarming and pinning him with practiced ease. Right then, Abraxas appeared, eyes gleaming with excitement. "Ooh, are we fighting someone?" Lim Dayan answered nonchalantly, "Nothing serious." "Wangguho, Min Jae, tie him up." The two nodded immediately. "Yes, sir." Within minutes, Li Qiuljin was bound and forced to kneel in front of the team. Still defiant, he spat out, "You think I'll talk just because of this?" Suddenly, a cold voice cut through the air. "Li Qiuljin, former North Korean Special Forces. You've been hiding since the fall of the regime, planning to reclaim Pyongyang, aren't you?" Lim Dayan stepped forward, locking eyes with him. "You've already made enemies everywhere. Do you really want to keep adding to that list?" His tone shifted, firm, but not hostile. "So let's negotiate again, but this time under reasonable terms." Li Qiuljin, hands tied behind his back, still remained defiant. He growled through gritted teeth, "You bastards, go ahead and torture me. Do whatever you want. You won't get a single word out of me." Lim Dayan looked at him calmly, and asked with a hint of amusement, "So, you want us to torture you?" His tone shifted into something gentler, almost coaxing. "Let's just stick to the original deal. Everyone gets what they need and walks away. I'd say what you've already received is more than fair for some intel." Min Jae, standing to the side, was visibly annoyed. "This idiot keeps running his mouth like that in front of my captain." Lim Dayan glanced at Qiuljin, a small sigh forming in his thoughts. "It's kind of awkward to torture someone in front of the others, but I can't just let this enemy walk free either. What a pain." At that moment, a sound rustled from the bushes. Startled, Lily instinctively turned to look. She tensed up, then shouted in fear, "Someone's there." A figure stepped out from the dense undergrowth. Lily stomped toward him, voice indignant. "Why were you sneaking around like that?" When the stranger stepped into view, Qiuljin's expression froze in disbelief. "Li Hongdan. What the hell is that kid doing here?" Hongdan's face twisted in anger. He slammed his hand against the ground and shouted, "Savages." He rushed forward toward Lily, screaming, "Let my abai go." But before he could do anything else, he too was swiftly restrained, tied up and gagged like his comrade. Lim Dayan calmly approached the boy, crouching to speak eye to eye. "Come on, kid. If you answer my question, I'll listen to what you have to say." Hongdan hesitated. Then, from the depths of his heart, he pleaded, "Please, help us. If we don't go back, our entire group will starve to death." Dayan nodded gently. "I had already prepared food for your people. But your guy pointed a sword at me, so I had no choice but to restrain him." Hongdan was visibly taken aback. "Really?" Seizing the moment, Lim Dayan pressed forward. "All right, where are your comrades?" Under Hongdan's guidance, Dayan and the others made their way to the group's hideout. There they found people gaunt, sick, and visibly malnourished. The sight made Dayan clench his jaw, discomfort written across his face. He turned to Qian Inam and gave an order. "Medical team. Check everyone." Without hesitation, Inam nodded. "Understood." Just then, one of the locals, part of Qiuljin's group, spoke up warily. You're not from here, are you?" Sensing their fear, Inam stepped forward to reassure them. "Don't worry. We came here because Li Qiuljin asked for our help." That name made several people murmur in surprise. "Qiuljin." On the other side of the room, Dayan called out, "Min-ae." A man with a mechanical arm stepped forward, speaking cheerfully. "Leave it to me." His confident smile radiated as he held up his prosthetic. "Ever since you helped me get this new arm, I can do delicate work a lot more easily. I'll whip up something nice to eat. Honestly, that arm gave me back the motivation to cook again." Dayan gave a small smile and added warmly, "Take care of things here. I'll head out for a bit." Min Jae grabbed some cooking tools, eyes sparkling with excitement. "Yes, sir." Watching him, Dayan thought to himself, no need to tell him about the special equipment we added to that arm. He'll figure it out when it's needed. That night, the forest was eerily dark and silent. Something about it stirred a primal sense of unease. Li Hongdan, overwhelmed with gratitude, spoke up. "Thank you for helping our people." Qiuljin, still wary, warned from the side, "Don't let your guard down. They might be helping us now, but you never know when they'll turn on us." Dayan burst out laughing. "You're right. It is time for you to repay the favor. After all, we're holding your comrades too. So don't do anything stupid." He turned to his group and ordered, "We're starting the sweep. Search every cave in this area." Now, Abraxas, appearing thrilled, chimed in as he walked off. "Sounds fun. I'll take that side." Lim Daein glanced back casually and asked, "Ah, that place?" He continued without waiting for an answer. North Korea suffered during the first major event too. Some souls from the spirit realm appeared in Pyongyang and wreaked havoc. The surrounding area was distorted from spatial erosion. The newly awakened couldn't control the situation, and eventually, Pyongyang turned into a fortress of souls. Then, after a short pause, he muttered to himself, seeing it up close, "It's worse than I imagined. But it's not my problem. Just handling Korea's mess is already exhausting." Still, he offered a word of caution with genuine concern: it might be dangerous if we get too close too fast. Let's keep our distance. Abraxas nodded. "Got it. I'll be as careful as I can." Lim Daein then spoke with calm authority. "All right, let's begin. Start searching." Day 3 of the search. "This is the 35th cave already?" "Yeah, but I'm not taking any responsibility if we go through all of them and come up empty. That'd be a huge loss for me." Still, something about this particular cave felt different. His internal energy reacted in strange ways. Lim Daein could sense it. Elsewhere in the quiet forest, Lily took a deep breath and said with determination, "Everyone wait outside. I'll go in alone." Lee Cheol-jin and Lee Hong-dan protested immediately. "Isn't that overkill? You don't need to make it that complicated." Seriously, Lim Daein, standing by, stayed silent but focused. His thoughts grew more serious. The oceanic arts, created for the sole purpose of defeating the heavenly demon. The deeper I go, the more my energy reacts. This place, it's different. The further in he ventured, the denser the ominous energy became. And then he saw it. The statue of the first heavenly demon of the demonic cult. Just as I expected, the strongest concentration of energy is here. He recalled stories of future explorers who stumbled upon this place unprepared, driven mad by the sheer intensity of its aura. A slight chuckle escaped him. If it weren't for the oceanic arts, I'd be in real trouble. He drew his sword and said to himself with clarity, "I never intended to use these arts to fight the heavenly demon, but thanks to them, I can withstand this corrupted energy." Then, gripping his powerful sword, he charged straight at the statue. The heavenly demon's spiritual power surged to meet him. Sword and statue collided. A deafening crash shook the air. Outside, Lily and the others felt the tremors. "The mountain is shaking. We need to get him out before the cave collapses." Lily stood calmly, arms behind her back. "I told you to wait, didn't I?" Then she added dryly, "Anyone hearing you would think you're actually worried about a friend." Just then, Lim Daein emerged from the cave, calm as ever. Lily blinked in surprise. "What is that? Did someone get turned to stone?" He smiled and held up the large figure. "This is the statue we were searching for." Lee Cheol-jin approached, face unreadable. "You look pleased." Lim Daein nodded confidently. "Of course. I finally found what I've been looking for." But what he didn't say aloud was screaming inside his head. "And I found something even better." Who would've thought there'd be a map hidden in the statue's mouth? Could this be the Jangbo map? "I'll have to check back in Murim." Lily walked up beside him. "So, we're heading back now?" He nodded again. "Yeah, we're done here." Lee Hong-dan watched quietly, a soft sadness settling in his chest. "So, it's really happening. They're leaving." He thought to himself, "At first I thought they were the bad guys, but he took care of my team. Gave us food without hesitation. I wish we could have spent more time together, but maybe this is enough." Lim Daein gave the command, calm and firm, "Let's head back." Just then, one of the locals stepped forward, gripping Chien Ilnam's hand with deep gratitude. "Thank you. Really, thank you." Ilnam smiled warmly. "It's nothing. I'm just glad everyone's safe. Good thing I brought extra medical supplies." Nearby, a few others gathered around Min Jae, grinning with satisfaction. "That was delicious." Min Jae beamed proudly. "Yeah? Great, then you don't mind helping with the dishes, right?" "I've still got more cooking to do." The man nodded enthusiastically. "Of course." Elsewhere, Wang Guho noticed a familiar light in the sky and murmured, "Is that Lily coming back?" But something was off. It wasn't Lily. A sudden blast rained down from above, a direct aerial strike. Wang Guho's instincts kicked in. He shouted, "Everyone, get down." He slammed his fists into the earth. Grand earth manipulation. Great earthen wall. Chien Ilnam scrambled into action. Support team. Get everyone deeper into the cave. Move now. It's an attack. The invaders appeared, ghastly, cloaked beings, the Wraithborn. They scanned the area, their voices sharp and menacing. So many prey, gathered in one place. Without warning, they lunged. Hunt them all. But Wang Guho wasn't going to let that happen. He reached out with his massive hand, catching one of them by the skull mid-air. His voice thundered, "As long as I'm still standing." He hurled the creature and bellowed, "None of you will lay a hand on them." Slamming his palm into the ground, he activated his technique again, earthen manipulation, spire surge. Pillars of jagged rock shot from the ground like spears, pushing back the attackers. Min-jae joined the fray, his eyes burning with fury. "Where do you think you're going?" Meanwhile, Chien Seal A and Chien Inam opened fire in sync, unleashing a flurry of bullets. "We're trained professionals too, you know," Seola shouted. "Even if the captain's not here, we can hold out until he returns," Inam added. Suddenly Inam felt something off behind. He turned, just in time to see one of the Wraithborn lifting Chien Ilnam into the air by the throat. Both Inam and Seola screamed in horror. "Ilnam. No." Then, the creature hissed, staring at Wang Guho, "Hey, Stone Man. Don't move." He hurled Ilnam to the ground hard. Then came the threat, cold and vicious: "Refuse to surrender, and I'll kill every last one of you." As the air began to settle after the chaos, Lim Daein suddenly broke the silence with a casual suggestion: "How about we grill the rest of the meat for dinner tonight?" Lily instantly threw her hands up in joy. "Yay, you're the best, uncle." Li Hongdan grinned wide and echoed, "Seriously, you're amazing." But then, Li Cheol-jun's expression shifted. He glanced toward the cave with growing suspicion. "Wait. Why is it so quiet in there?" He rushed in and what he found left him stunned. What the hell happened here? Where is everyone? Panic rising, Lim Daein turned his head toward a parked vehicle. A faint groan caught his attention. He hurried over, yanked the door open, and there was Cheon Ilnam, barely conscious and gasping for breath. Daein knelt beside him, concern etched into his face. "Ilnam, are you all right?" The young man looked up weakly. "Captain," Daein quickly poured medicine onto Ilnam's wound, treating him as he spoke. "So they took you and the others hostage to force a surrender, didn't they?" Ilnam gave a faint nod. "Yeah." Lim Daein narrowed his eyes. "Then why didn't they take you with them?" Ilnam took a shaky breath and explained, "Min-jae told me to play dead. Someone had to stay behind and tell you what happened." Daein stood up, placing a hand on Ilnam's shoulder. "You did well. Rest now." But in his mind he couldn't help but wonder, did Min-jae tell him to take healing medicine to survive until we arrived? Meanwhile, Li Cheol-jun frowned, deep in thought. They could have over 2 million in numbers now. After they seized Pyongyang, they took control of the population. Daein's eyes darkened. His thoughts raced back to what he'd learned from others about the terrifying truth behind these enemies. Their official name: Wraithbound. Originally, summoning a wraith from another world required a contract, a binding pact that stabilized their form by channeling magic through the summoner. But what happened in Pyongyang was a horrifying exception. The wraiths invaded, bypassing contracts altogether. And when the city faced complete collapse, the wraiths found a solution: they took over human bodies as vessels. These hosts, once consumed and transformed, became wraithbound shells, twisted versions of who they once were. Lim Daein dashed into the woods, jaw clenched. "I need to rescue them before it's too late." His memories drifted back to his past life, the battle to reclaim Pyongyang. 120 awakened fighters from South Korea, North Korea, and China had joined forces. Only 50 made it out alive. Can I really save them all, alone? A voice called out behind him, snapping him back to the present. "Hey, where is everyone? Don't tell me you all started fighting again." He turned Garnard. Lily ran forward, throwing her arms around her. "You're okay. The others, they were taken by the Wraithbound." Garnard raised an eyebrow. "So what, are we just supposed to go back without them?" "That's gonna be tricky." Lily gasped. "What?" Lim Daein crossed his arms firmly. "I have no intention of leaving anyone behind. If I can break through the barrier, I'll take care of the rest." Garnard smirked. "The barrier, huh? I'll open it for you." He blinked, surprised. "You can?" She nodded, energy already beginning to surge around her. "Of course. I was getting bored anyway. And I'm dying to see what's inside. I haven't gone deep, some of them are pretty strong. But I did scout the outer edge. Here, this is the map I drew." Lim Daein examined the map closely, his eyes scanning every detail. "If I can sneak in instead of charging straight through, the chances of success go up significantly." Lim Daein spun around and shouted, "Li Cheol-jun, can you still contact the other agents?" Lee Cheol-jun flinched. What are you even talking about? But Lim Daein remained calm, his voice steady and resolute. There's no way you're the only agents left alive in North Korea. Cheol-jun stood frozen as Daein continued, I'll rescue my team. And you'll retake Pyongyang. Got it. Reach out to everyone you can. Tell them to gather. Inside the Pyongyang barrier, a wraithbound shell stood still, its red eyes gleaming. This human, he's nearly at his limit. He sniffed the air, sensing. There aren't any new ones being dragged in from outside. Hunting solo is such a pain. Then his gaze locked onto the dark energy swirling from Lim Daein. A Type 8 spirit. How's a low-grade wraith controlling such a powerful, youthful human? The wraith suddenly roared, hey. Shadow Wraith. How the hell are you controlling that body? Before he could react, the dark mist from Daein surged forward, devouring him whole. Lim Daein watched the black haze coil around the lifeless figure. Seems like they haven't realized, I'm not one of them. Who'd have thought an artificial wraithbound would feed so fast? He smirked and glanced at the mist swirling around his fingers. Still hungry? Huh. Don't worry, I'll feed you more soon. He tapped his earpiece. I'm inside the barrier. A voice crackled through. Signal's good. You reading me? Loud and clear. Is it as beautiful as the legends say? The ancient ruins? Lim Daein scanned his surroundings and answered plainly, aside from the monsters, yes. Most of them are low-grade wraiths, though mid-tier ones are scarce. His eyes shifted toward a presence far more ominous. As expected, high-tier wraiths never travel alone. I'll need to be careful. Some of them are as powerful as sword saints. But even as he assessed them, his gaze narrowed on one particular figure gliding silently through the mist. No, the real threat is that one. Frost. A high-level wraith. A national-level disaster in her own right. As long as there's no sovereign-class spirit around, she rules this place. He knelt, faking a bow, blending in perfectly. I have to move fast before she detects me. The plan to reclaim Pyongyang. Step 1. Infiltrate Pyongyang and place special bombs at the 7 mana towers powering the barrier. Garnard grinned, holding up one of the bombs. They're cloaked with stealth enchantments. They must be triggered simultaneously. Leave even one standing, and the barrier regenerates. Daein gave the order. Once the barrier falls, the race will weaken for a short time. That's our opening. He turned to Lee Cheol-jun. Hit the city the moment the barrier drops. Cheol-jun saluted. Leave it to us. Lily pumped her fist. And while everything's in chaos, we'll free our team and jump into the fight. Daein nodded. Until they're safe, I'll hold off Frost alone if I have to. Lily shouted with fire in her eyes. I'll roast those creeps before they even get close. Final phase. Take down Frost together and win back everything, then head home. At the first tower, Lim Daein stepped inside, blending in under his wraith disguise. As long as I act like a wraithbound, they won't suspect a thing. He looked around the interior. Nothing too unusual in here. I'll need to reach the top. 2 wraiths noticed him and muttered, what the hell? Why's that shadow wraith here? Suddenly a blast of light erupted and slammed into one of them. A low-tier wraith dares. The wraith collapsed. Daein watched, unmoved, so I can at least take out the mid-tier ones. The dark mist surrounding him began to writhe, feeding on the defeated wraith. It's getting stronger, even when it feeds on other attributes. Seems like darkness is its core. Lim Daein gave a small smirk and muttered with a grin. Looks like I'll have to start feeding you properly from now on. A few hours later, the sharp cry of a guard echoed across the city. Intruder alert. Lim Daein swiftly adjusted a hidden mechanism, then leapt to a higher ledge. That's the 6th charge placed. Let's move, you glutton. He glanced down at the shadow spirit beside him. You're nearly a mid-tier, maybe even high-tier by now, and still not full. Hold it in. We're hunting again soon. Scanning the area below, Lim Daein frowned. They've started sweeping the outskirts. Makes sense, dozens of low and mid-tier wraiths have vanished. His eyes locked onto the final tower. One more tower left. Near the city center. He moved swiftly. The closer I get, the more high-tier wraiths I sense. Which also means, if the others are alive, they're likely being held in the central zone. Suddenly, a chilling voice called from behind. Hey! Lim Daein flinched. Shit. A high-tier wraith. The towering figure of a wraith stepped forward. Shadow Wraith, why didn't you respond? The entity narrowed its eyes. Strange, among the wraithbound, I don't recall one like you. It was Shade, a high-ranking shadow wraith. Dayan hesitated, then made his call. Tell Lee Cheol-jun, commence the operation. A confused voice came through the earpiece. Operation. Now. A flash of light exploded behind him as Dayan barked, yes, now. In a flash, he slashed at Shade's neck with full force. But the wound healed instantly. Shade growled, you're not one of mine. Damn, I went for the throat but it recovered too fast. Self-regeneration, troublesome. Dark mist flared from Shade's body and lashed out. Let me show you what happens to trespassers. But as the mist reached him, Dayan's own shadow absorbed it. Shade gasped. You're absorbing my darkness. Dayan raised his sword and called out. Agi. Ready? The sword gleamed with dark energy as he unleashed a flurry of slashes, shadow fang barrage ripping through Shade's form. But then another wraith arrived, yelling, Lord Shade. There's a human intruder. Dayan focused dark energy into his palm and shouted, Agi, if you're full, let's go. In a blur, he vanished. Back in the shadows, Dayan caught his breath, his eyes narrowing. Just as I thought. Frost the Ice Wraith detected the disturbance instantly. This mission's blown. We'll need a new plan. He pressed hard on his earpiece. About what I said earlier, a voice snapped through the comms. You. He interrupted, voice sharp. Minjae. Are any members of Team 7 nearby? The moment Lim Dayan turned the corner, chaos exploded behind him. A voice bellowed from the tower there. Catch the intruder. Tear him apart. Dozens of wraiths gave chase, one launching a massive fireball that exploded just inches away. Lim Dayan ducked and rolled, transforming into a flash of motion. Did I just dodge that like a mango pit? He tapped his earpiece mid-sprint. Minja, where are you? Minja's voice came through, calm but tense. We're in the basement of one of the towers. Dead center of the city. Any injuries? Dayan asked while vaulting over debris. No one's dead, Minjae replied, but I'm the only one conscious. I think they used some kind of spell. Oddly, I woke up much faster than the others. Dayan's eyes narrowed. That necklace, right. I gave him the immunity charm from Gaia. Down below, Minjae stood alone among a sea of unconscious bodies. His voice trembled. There are more people down here, hundreds. Maybe thousands. Even kids. His fists clenched. They're just kids. Dayan, they're using you all as backup hosts, Dayan explained coldly. Batteries. When they're done draining your life force, they'll discard you like trash. Minjae's eyes burned. His fist shook, his jaw tightened. Tell me what to do. Dayan's voice came steady over the comms. Minjae. Your prosthetic arm, do you still have it? Yeah, of course. Minjae paused, then added, voice cracking, You still worry about my arm? Seriously? Dayan blinked. Wait, are you getting emotional? He smirked. This feels like one of those scenes from a boys' love webtoon. Then he turned serious again. I've seen what Minja's gone through. Power reveals true nature. And I wanted to watch over him just a bit longer. But there was no time. Minjae, Dayan called out, you've awakened a unique ability. What? On your prosthetic, there's a hidden switch at the elbow. Press it. Minjae found it and clicked. A compound will be injected into your bloodstream, blood of recently captured monsters, venomous snakes, parasitic demons. As the injection surged through him, Minjae staggered. This feeling, what is this? Don't resist it, Dayan said. Let the mana flood you. Let it consume you. A massive wave of energy burst from Minjae's body. He gasped, overwhelmed. Cut to basement entrance, central tower. A tall wraith Thunderbird, a high-level electric spirit, stood with folded arms. No need to keep faking the chase. Frost will devour that human soon anyway. One subordinate slumped beside him. Thunderbird, I've used too much mana. Feeling a little dizzy. Then just use one of the half-dead humans in the stockpile, Thunderbird scoffed. The subordinate bowed. Why yes sir. Suddenly, Thunderbird paused. Wait, humans can't enter while the barrier is still up. Then how did? A blow came out of nowhere, knocking the subordinate out cold. Thunderbird reeled, eyes wide. You were just outside. What are you? A demonic figure stepped forward, claws extended. You don't need to know. You'll be dead soon. A demon. Here, it was Minjae, fully transformed. Back outside. Lim Dayan smiled faintly. Fusion. A rare ability. He gazed toward the tower. And with the monsters I provided as high-grade fuel, he's more powerful than ever. A thunderous laugh echoed through the city, followed by an earth-shaking explosion. Hey-che, hey-che. Minjae was launched through the air, flames trailing behind him, greening ear to ear. That was awesome. He soared up to the top of the central tower, yelling through the comms, "I'm at the top, Hyang." Lim Daein answered calmly, "Good work. Detonated on my signal." "Got it," Minjae replied without hesitation. Daein exhaled, steadying himself. "That's one less worry." Facing the remaining enemies before him, he muttered, "Now there's just one last thing left to do." He began counting 1, 2 now, boom. An enormous explosion rocked the ground beneath them. Then boom, boom, boom. One after another, explosions erupted across the city like synchronized thunder. Bright white light burst from every direction, lighting up the night sky. Screams echoed from within the enemy ranks. "The barrier, my mana, what's happening? The barrier's been destroyed," someone shouted. And just like that, the tide turned. Fighters charged in from every direction. Lee Chil-jun raised his voice, "Don't hesitate. Aim to finish them off in one blow. No more mistakes, no more casualties." A full-scale battle exploded across Pyongyang. Blades clashed. Magic roared, "Cut their heads off. For the fallen." Amid the chaos, Lim Daein narrowed his eyes. "I've caused you more trouble than you imagined, but we have the upper hand now." Still, he knew better. "Frost, that one's still a problem." He called out, "Kid. Where are you?" A familiar voice came through the earpiece, "Leave it to me." From above came a confident voice, echoing with fire, "H.A.H. Lily has arrived." She burst onto the battlefield, engulfed in roaring flames. "Stay right there." Her fire rocketed forward with tremendous force. Frost, the Ice Wraith Lord, gasped in disbelief. "What?" The blast slammed it down from the sky. "Impossible, how can a mere human wield fire like this?" Lim Daein watched carefully. A direct hit, Lily's sneak attack worked. But Frost's no ordinary wraith. "We need to finish this before it adapts," Frost snarled, baring icy fangs. "Enough games. Let's end this." It lunged toward Lily. Impressive flames for a human. But not enough. "You'll make a fine vessel for me." Lim Daein charged in, blade flashing, but Frost dodged at the last second. "Don't worry about me," he shouted to Lily. "Keep the pressure on. It's still a spirit," he reminded himself. "If we keep striking at the host body, it'll weaken." Lily's flames wrapped around Frost, pinning it in place. "You dare!" it screamed. Lim Daein's eyes locked in. "Never let your guard down." He dashed forward and drove his blade straight into the creature's heart. Frost let out a shriek of pure agony. "You humans dare to use such dirty tricks against me?" Daein's eyes narrowed, voice cold. "Let me end this in style." Boom no nuwu. A final explosion erupted. A massive blue shockwave lit up the battlefield. Everyone went still. What was that? It's gone. The Ice Wraith, it's really gone. Cheers erupted as people danced in relief. "We're free. They did it. Pyongyang is ours." 1 week later, Pyongyang reclaimed. The reconstruction efforts were in full swing. Refugees had begun pouring back into the city. Population numbers surged. At the center of it all was Lee Chil-jun, directing efforts with unwavering calm. He was soon surrounded by cheers, "Our hero." Comrade Lee Chil-jun. Blushing, he scratched his head awkwardly. I wasn't planning to live here, you know." But it didn't matter. The people had chosen their symbol. He was the face of the capital's rebirth. Lim Daein walked up with a casual smile. "Hey, you busy?" Lee Chil-jun jumped slightly, startled. "Ah, if it's you, Comrade Lim Daein, then don't worry. You're our top priority. Honestly, I owe you so much I doubt I can ever repay it in this lifetime." Lim Daein chuckled. "Good. I plan to collect tenfold, so be ready." Just then, the sound of an engine cut through the air. A sleek white car pulled up in front of them. "They're here," Lim Daein said, turning toward the vehicle. Lee Chil-jun's eyes widened. "Huh, what kind of car is that?" From the passenger seat, Minjae popped out, waving excitedly. "Comrade Lee. I brought you one too." Lee Chil-jun stood there, stunned. "See, Comrade Minjae." Lim Daein smiled. "Relax. I called him in." The back door opened, and a woman stepped out, brushing dust off her coat. I still can't believe I followed the commander all the way to North Korea. She gave him a sideways look. Didn't you say you were going off for training? Lim Daein raised an eyebrow, slightly amused. Vice President. She barely reacted. Vice President? Huh? Did you bring what I asked for? She nodded coolly. Don't worry. Everything's ready. Lim Daein pulled out a folder and handed it to Lee Cheol-jun. Here, read this. Lee glanced at it, confused. What is it? Lim Daein grinned. A contract. We're opening a new branch of the guild, right here. Lim Daein turned to Lee Cheol-jun and said calmly. We're planning to open a new branch of the White House Guild right here in Pyongyang. Lee's expression shifted, anxiety creeping into his voice. I never imagined things would come to this, not when we first met. He clenched his fists, thought spinning. Comrade Daein, I owe you far too much. I have to repay this debt whatever it takes. Then, aloud, he said with conviction, I understand. Lim Daein raised an eyebrow. Understand what? You didn't even read the contract yet. He smirked and added, let's go somewhere quiet. We need to talk properly. They moved into a private meeting room. Lee glanced at the contract in his hands and started to speak. Comrade, is this? But Lim Daein cut him off. You've read it all, haven't you? Then, with clear intent, he laid out the plan. The White House Guild will support Pyongyang for the next 3 years. In return, we'll be granted independent rights to operate in the mana crystal mines. Naturally, mana crystals will be traded at fair prices. And all labor for the project will come from North Korean citizens. He continued, North Korea has high-grade mana crystal deposits, but your current technology can't refine them. Once our supply network is established, we'll be able to connect to neighboring countries overland. It's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, even for us. Lee fell silent, the weight of it all sinking in. Supporting Pyongyang. The conditions aren't bad. But do I really have the authority to make such a massive decision? Lim Daein watched him for a moment, then said gently, look. I'm not saying you have to accept this blindly. Even if you say no, that's fine. Lee asked, quietly, if I refuse, what will you do, Comrade Daein? Lim Daein replied. Then I'll provide aid as promised, and go home. But once I leave, word will spread in South Korea, and the wolves will start circling. Lee narrowed his eyes. Wouldn't that happen even if I agree? From the side, Young-hee stepped forward, placing a hand over her chest. Comrade Lee Cheol-jun, the White House Guild is currently the strongest guild in South Korea. As long as we're here, you won't be alone. She added firmly. The 3-year aid package also includes food and medical supplies completely free. I can guarantee, no other guild in Korea could offer you this. Lee looked down, overwhelmed. What Comrade Daein is offering, it's a generous deal. Right now Pyongyang can't last another week without outside help. He sighed. But I'm just a soldier. A decision like this should come from someone with the authority of a president. Lim Daein raised an eyebrow. Then who's the president? Where is this person? If the position's so important, why don't you become president? Lee jolted, stunned. What are you even saying? But Lim Daein stayed calm. Think about it. Who else can lead Pyongyang right now besides you? His voice grew colder. Most of the powerful are dead. And those still breathing. They were the first to abandon the people and run. Lee clenched his teeth. He's right. I can't entrust our future to cowards like that. Lim Daein continued firmly, and most importantly, we're only making this offer because of you. If it weren't for you, the man who helped us reclaim Pyongyang, I would have never brought this to the table. Let's be honest, the people here wouldn't accept anyone else as their leader but you. Lee Cheol-jun's eyes widened. He looked at the two standing before him and whispered under his breath, Comrade Daein. Then, with renewed resolve, he picked up the contract and began to read. Yes, at the very least, the people trust me right now. They've returned to Pyongyang because of that faith. I need to prove to them that I can be the one to lead. If I do, no one will have to live in fear anymore. Lim Daein smiled, satisfied. That's exactly the kind of decision I was hoping for. A few days later, the White House Guild formally notified the Korean government of its new cooperation with North Korea. In response to Lee Cheol-jun's official request for aid, the president dispatched relief teams and supplies. Wait, this aid is from the White House Guild too? Damn, even other guilds are sending Awakened now. But most of the deals have already been secured by the White House Guild. 1 month passed. The once ruined city had begun to rise from the ashes. Lee Chil-jun solidified his leadership by recruiting awakened hunters still in hiding across North Korea. Lim Dae-in stood atop a tall building, watching the bustling city below. Reconstruction's progressing steadily. Even the Larul clan has arrived. Team 7 has worked hard this whole time. Min-jae had been eagerly helping rescue survivors, though his over-enthusiastic approach often scared them half to death. "Are you okay?" he'd ask, only to make the poor girl scream. Refugees were steadily being rescued and protected. Monster elimination teams were out in force. "Amazing. These guys really are our commander's comrades." Another monster down. Medical teams were working around the clock. "Please bring more recovery potions. Doctor, check his vitals, he's badly injured." The research team was busy too. "I've discovered a new spiritual herb that boosts vitality when fermented into kimchi. We've begun mapping connections to the spirit realm." Then, out of the blue, someone flew over to Lim Dae-in. "Hello there, Mr. Dae-in." He glanced up. "Kiri. Is that you?" The man landed and chuckled. "Nope, it's Sigrid. Been a while, hasn't it? You saved my life back when I got stuck inside that butterfly monster, remember? I'm here to set up the dimensional gate from this side. Once it's complete, travel time between Seoul and Pyongyang will drop drastically." Lim Dae-in smiled. "Well done." He thought to himself, originally this would have taken 20 years, but because of this partnership, progress has accelerated dramatically. If things keep going like this, even if the butterfly effect hits, we'll be able to soften the blow. "What about the statue I gave you?" he asked. Sigrid grinned. "Good news on that too. We managed to stabilize a portal leading directly to Murim." Lim Dae-in's eyes sparkled. "Looks like I've got my next mission lined up." Meanwhile, Team 7 returned to Seoul, cheerful after re-establishing diplomatic ties with North Korea. "Thank goodness," someone said. "Wang Guho, our new squad leader, took care of everything." Wang Guho gave an interview, proudly standing before the cameras. "It's an honor to stand here on behalf of the people of South Korea." Lim Dae-in watched from afar. An interview this late at night. Must be exhausting for him. Team 7 was officially reorganized. Wang Guho became team leader, and Min-jae was promoted to vice captain. I'm a squad leader now," Wang Guho stammered. "I got promoted," Min-jae shouted, full of excitement. Meanwhile, Young Hee was sighing. "The paperwork never ends." Lim Dae-in smirked. "Young Hee's been too busy recruiting new members for Team 7 to even bother me with work. Lucky me." He glanced at Lily. "She's asleep already," he whispered, then smiled. "Good. Deep sleep." He looked back fondly, remembering her words. "Uncle, are you there?" "Of course I am, silly. I'm always here." She'll start school next week, he thought. Abraxas will look after her while I'm gone. That gives me peace of mind while I head to the martial world. He had already taken a 2-month leave, using overseas travel as an excuse. My mission? Find the celestial sword in the world of Murim. And if I can snag a few martial arts manuals while I'm at it, even better. Sigrid saw him approaching and waved him in. "Welcome. The dimensional gate is fully prepped and ready." At this point, Lim Dae-in looked like he'd stepped straight out of a wuxia film. Long flowing hair, calm demeanor, and a travel pack slung confidently over his shoulder. "All right," he said with a smirk. "I'm all set." Garnard looked at him, concerned. "Lily still doesn't know, right?" "Of course not," Dae-in replied. "Please look after her. If she finds out I left on my own, she'll flip the whole city upside down." Garnard winced just thinking about it. "I'll do my best. But it won't be easy." Dae-in reassured her. "I know it won't. But I believe in you, you'll manage." Sigrid stepped forward, holding a sleek, rune-covered device. "When you want to return, use this. Press this button and channel your mana. It'll open the return portal. It also acts as a locator and emergency beacon. Communication across dimensions isn't possible, but it can send distress signals if needed. Please make it back safely." Dae-in chuckled with that signature sly grin. "I doubt I'll need it, but thanks anyway." "Oh, and keep in mind," Sigrid added, "Murim doesn't have a dimensional gate on its side, so there'll be magnetic interference when you arrive." "Yeah, I know." He nodded. He had his reasons for going there. He suspected the legendary celestial sword would be tied to the Sword Emperor's legacy, wherever that might be. Garnard waved from behind. "Don't forget to bring back something cool and weird for me. Be safe," Sigrid called out. "All right, I'm off," Lim Dae-in said as he stepped forward. In the next moment, a burst of blinding light surrounded him, and then the world shifted. A sunset bathed the mountain range in golden light. The wind carried the scent of pine and soil. "So this is it," he muttered. "Did I land in the right place?" Looking around at the quiet, pastoral landscape, Dayan couldn't help but smile wryly. "Yep. Definitely the countryside." He started walking. "I'll need to find a place to rest and gather some intel before I get serious." Not long after, he approached a middle-aged woman walking by. With a respectful clasp of his hands, he bowed slightly. "Excuse me, ma'am. I'm new around here, just wandering a bit. If it's not too much trouble, could you point me to an inn nearby where I could stay?" The old lady pointed down the road. "There's a small inn run by old Jin, right down that way." "Thank you very much," he said with a courteous nod. Soon he arrived at the inn. "This is going better than expected. If I can find the celestial sword quickly, maybe this could double as a much-needed vacation." An older man with a thick beard stepped out to greet him with a bright smile. "Ah, a guest. Please come in." He brought over a steaming bowl of noodles and a plate of dumplings. "Please enjoy." With his hands behind his back, the man observed Dayan for a moment. "You look like someone who's trained in martial arts. May I ask where you're from?" "Baekjeomun, Guangdong." Dayan replied casually, lifting his chopsticks. "I'm just a traveler. I'm new to this region and wandering around a bit." "By the way, what's the name of this village?" The old man suddenly slammed his hand on the table, face lighting up. "You came all the way here without even knowing the name of the place. Ha, now that's interesting." Then he burst into hearty laughter. "Well, if you're planning to stick around in this dusty little village, this meal's on me." A boy in the back shouted, "Grandpa, you're drinking again. You promised to cut back." The old man waved him off, pouring a drink for Dayan. All right. I hear you, brat." As the old man watched Dayan out of the corner of his eye, a flicker of sharpness flashed across his expression. "A traveler, huh? But a body like that. That's not something you get without years of training. Not at that age. Who exactly is this guy?" Lim Dayan thought to himself. From an outsider's perspective, it probably looks like we're just casually sharing a meal. But that's far from the truth. This entire cover story that he was merely a traveling adventurer and not a martial artist was carefully constructed. He slowly lifted his glass of water, sipping quietly. "Still, it's pretty strange, isn't it?" He narrowed his eyes slightly. "There's something else off here." His attention shifted to someone behind them, the inn's busboy, who at first glance seemed completely ordinary. But Dayan knew better. Even in simple movements, clearing dishes, wiping tables, traces of martial arts would inevitably slip through. And in this case they did. That boy had been trained in the sword techniques of the Sword Emperor. Dayan stifled a smirk. "Ah, so that's why I was drawn to this place." Just as he was lost in thought, he felt a pulse of energy surge nearby. "All right then, time to start gathering information." It didn't take long. He spotted the boy moving with untrained speed, his actions betraying far more skill than any regular inn worker should have. Eventually the two began sparring. John Hung, the innkeeper, finally stepped in. "All right, that's enough." Dayan watched carefully, immediately noticing the way Jian Hung handled the situation. Blood needle meridian therapy. It was a traditional method, one that used energy known as qi to promote blood flow, boost vitality, and relieve muscular tension. Especially common among martial artists, it served both as healing and training enhancement. After some time, Jian Hung spoke. "All done, Hyun." He handed Jin Hyun a small bowl filled with dark herbal medicine. "Looks like your body's holding up better than before. Here, drink this." Jin Hyun took the bowl reluctantly, scrunching her nose. "Ugh, this one's even more bitter than the last." As she forced it down, she asked, "Grandpa, that guest from yesterday, he wasn't targeting us, was he?" John Hung nodded thoughtfully. "Doesn't seem like it. When I spoke to him, I didn't sense any hostile intent." He paused, thinking aloud. He wasn't wearing a mask to hide his identity, and his hands, they didn't have the calluses of someone who's wielded a sword for years. You can suppress inner strength, but not the hands of a seasoned swordsman. Lim Dayan tensed slightly. He saw through all of that. "Let's eat breakfast," John Hung called out. "Yes, sir." Dayan had come to a decision. He's using internal energy. I need to find out if it's ocean flow technique. If it were the same martial art, it would naturally resonate with his own aura. So he released a subtle flow of his energy, letting it reach their room. Almost immediately, Jin Hyun coughed up blood. "Hyun, Are you alright? Jian Hung rushed to her side. You haven't had a slip-up like this in a while. Jin Hyun wiped the blood from the corner of her mouth. It's okay, I actually feel a bit better after coughing that up. Daein observed everything closely. This isn't the ocean flow technique I know. He began to analyze. It's inefficient, the energy consumption is far too high, and the flow is unstable. It's similar to ocean flow, but incomplete. It might be the earlier form of the Sword Emperor's technique before he perfected it into what we now know. Suddenly Jian Hung spoke with resolve. I've decided to sell our last remaining asset. Jin Hyun's eyes widened. Wait, what? Why? I heard there's a powerful elixir coming to town, he said. We'll sell the inn and buy it. She hesitated. But, you always said making rash decisions would risk exposing us. Jian Hung didn't waver. We'll just move somewhere else. If that's what it takes to save you, then that's what I'll do. Yun, this old man will do whatever it takes to heal you. Running away had long ceased to feel unusual for them. Jian Hung understood this better than anyone. Yun, he said softly, for the past 15 years, I've been on the run with you, a child born with a frail body. There were times I thought about leaving you behind and saving myself. His voice trembled slightly as he continued, but now, I no longer see you as just the daughter of my master. You are my own flesh and blood. Please, live a long life. Grow strong and healthy. He gently added one more thing. I've already asked old Yang to procure the elixir, but it'll take a few days. We'll leave as soon as it arrives. Jin Hyun could only nod in silence. Okay, sleep well, Grandpa. The candle inside the inner room had already been blown out, yet its flame still lingered, quietly burning. Jin Hyun sat in front of a mirror, her expression filled with conflict. What meaning does my life even have? To survive, she'd been forced to lie about her name, her identity, even her gender. But then she clenched her fists. No. As long as Grandpa doesn't give up, I have no right to give up either. The young inn assistant known as Jin Hyun was in truth Namgun Hyun, 15 years old, the last living descendant of the Sword Emperor. Right now she was merely living under the borrowed name Jin Hyun, not as Namgun Hyun. Back in the other room, Lim Daein lay on the bed, lost in thought. I've gathered far more information than I expected. He pulled out an old book and ran his fingers over the worn pages. There's something between the two of them, and it might lead to conflict. This book, written by the Sword Emperor himself, contained things that Daein had long since memorized. Every word etched into his memory. If you ever meet my son or grandson, never speak of me. Not once. And never, under any circumstances, mention the fact that I once lost a limb. And yet, that command always struck Daein as absurd. What's the point of holding on to that kind of meaningless pride? If he had just come back, if he'd simply survived, he could have lived like a hero, revered and honored. He remembered everything. The Sword Emperor's clan had been wiped out. After the Emperor disappeared, the family began to fall apart, until 15 years ago, they were completely destroyed by unknown attackers. The book also contained another message: even if my descendants live in suffering, that is not your concern. Focus only on destroying the evil ones. Wipe them out. Daein closed the book and let out a long sigh. That man, he never once asked his disciples for help. Not even ones he never met. What a stubborn fool. The next morning Jian Hung looked absolutely delighted. Yun, your complexion really has improved lately. Jin Hyun nodded. That bitter medicine. It's working better than I thought. He grinned from ear to ear. Looks like we finally found something that works with your body. I'll have to pay quite a bit to the apothecary, but it's worth it. I already received the money from selling the inn, and the elixir should arrive soon. Yes, Grandpa, she replied softly. Inside, Jin Hyun was just as surprised. It really is strange, waking up without chills or fever. My body feels lighter. Is this what being healthy feels like? Lately her dreams had also started to change. In them, something warm and familiar held her close. In those dreams I could rest. I could feel peace. She hugged herself gently, staring down at her hands. Is it just my imagination? Just then, Lim Daein stepped out while rubbing his eyes. Good morning, he yawned. Jin Hyun sighed in exasperation. It's almost noon, senior. The moment he saw the food in her hands, his eyes lit up. Ah, I think I like the smell of that already. Despite grumbling under her breath, she set it down. Oh, whatever. Just come eat already. This guy, what's been keeping him up so late these days anyway? She thought to herself. Lim Daein stared at the food, practically drooling. It looks delicious. Hyun, I'd also like a bottle of bamboo leaf wine. Jin Hyun immediately frowned. Drinking right after waking up? I knew it. From the side, Jeon Hung watched with an amused sigh. He's got a good heart, that one. It's just a shame he's so lazy. From the way he carries himself, you'd think he doesn't even know how to hold a sword properly. Jeon Hung spoke up. Young man, you're built quite well. If you train diligently, you could achieve great results. While chewing, Daein casually replied, I do train in martial arts, to some extent. But Jeon Hung pressed further. Training alone isn't enough. I know it's a bit forward, but I used to teach martial arts back in the day. I only say this because I see potential in you. It'd be a waste otherwise. Daein blinked. You were a martial arts instructor. That's right, the old man chuckled. Just at a small outpost in a quiet village. Have you considered picking up a similar job again? Seeing the old man hesitate, Daein joked. We offer the best healing in the field, a family-like work environment, all 4 major insurances, and housing support. But Jeon Hung shook his head. I appreciate the offer, but I'll have to decline. I'm not even sure what you're talking about. I'm nearly 70, don't have the energy for that kind of work anymore. Inside, Daein smirked. Liar. He trains every morning. At his age, his condition is elite level. Jeon Hung then announced, we'll be leaving this inn in a few days. You should find another place to stay, young man. That's fine. Daein said casually. I was planning to head to the next town anyway. I've found where the thing I'm looking for is located. He had finally found a clue, one far easier than expected. The heavenly sword was said to be hidden within Murim Mang, a sacred martial arts stronghold. But of course it was heavily guarded, likely teeming with elite warriors in hiding. If he tried sneaking in unprepared, it could cost him his life. He had spent the last few days thinking of possible ways in. But now I guess I'll have to go see it myself. Just then, the door burst open and someone shouted in a panic. Elder. Something terrible has happened. Jeon Hung turned immediately. Brother Yang, what's going on? 2 men who had just arrived rushed in, faces pale. Bad news. The convoy carrying goods into town was attacked by bandits. Jeon Hung's eyes widened. What? What about the elixir? What's Hyun supposed to take now? The older man with the white beard added gravely, not just the elixir, everything. The whole shipment was taken, and people died. Jeon Hung gritted his teeth. It may not have been my elixir yet, but like hell I'm letting those bastards keep it. I need to go somewhere, he muttered. I'll be back soon. One young man stepped forward. I'm coming too. Elder shouldn't go alone, Yang Chunsam will accompany you. Jin Hyun's voice trembled with worry. Grandpa, do you really have to go? It's okay if we don't get the elixir. But Jeon Hung didn't respond aloud. Instead, he used a sound transmission only she could hear. Don't you trust this old man? Even if 500 bandits show up, I'll handle it. Lim Daein called out, travel safely. But even as he said it, he couldn't help the uneasy feeling creeping into his chest. I didn't expect things to go sideways like this. Jeon Hung gave one final reassuring nod. I'll be back soon. As he disappeared, Jin Hyun turned to Daein, upset. Aren't you at all worried? He's the only family I have. Daein gave her a mocking look. Is that really necessary? Your grandpa's pretty strong. He is, but how do you know that? Before she could finish, Daein calmly cut her off. I knew from the moment I saw him. Right as he spoke, he flicked the chopstick in his hand. Suddenly thwip. A sharp snap of motion echoed, followed by the splatter of blood and a muffled cry. Jin Hyun's eyes widened in panic. Who's there? But Daein remained eerily calm. They show up from time to check on things. Seems like today's one of those days. As soon as he said that, loud crashes erupted from outside, the windows shattered. Footsteps stormed in from all directions. Assassins swarmed the inn. Get her. Take the girl alive. They had only one target, Jin Hyun. Neither Lim Daein nor Jin Hyun looked even remotely surprised as the assassins burst through the doors. We must capture Hyun. Daein calmly shut his eyes, sensing their movements through the room. 1, 2, 3. The assassins were rushing in fast. We'll take your life. But Daein smirked to himself. So there are 5 of them. Without a word, he gripped the edge of the table beside him. And right as the enemies closed in, he flipped the whole table with explosive force. His punch, charged with internal energy, landed with brutal precision, sending one of the assassins flying backward, crashing into the wall with a sickening thud. The others froze, stunned by the sheer power behind that one strike. We need to take him down first. The remaining assassins lunged forward without hesitation, but in the next moment Dayan had vanished. He reappeared behind them in an instant. Before they could even react, he struck again. Another flew back with a grunt, unconscious before he hit the ground. Wait. The third saw what happened and began trembling, but Dayan didn't spare him either. One swift kick launched him across the room. Then he drew his sword. With a clean, effortless slash, another one was down. That's 3, Dayan said coldly. He grabbed a nearby chair next. To him, defending himself felt almost too easy. The assassin tried every technique he had, but nothing worked. Damn it! The man shouted, frustrated. Before he could say another word, Dayan's hand closed around his face, then slam. A final cry rang out as he hit the floor. 4, Dayan said, eyeing the last one. That's when Jin Hyun suddenly spoke up from behind him. 5. She had taken down the last one herself, albeit still trembling from exhaustion. Dayan looked back and grinned. Not bad. Jin Hyun stared at him, secretly assessing. He's the real deal, his moves are incredibly efficient, not a single wasted motion. He might even be stronger than Grandpa. The fact that he's been hiding this strength, that's what's more suspicious. Then Dayan asked, do you have any idea what this is all about? It's pretty obvious they were after you. It's like they were waiting for this exact moment. His words made Jin Hyun pause. He's right, they acted like they knew Grandpa would be gone. But how? How did they know our plans? Her eyes narrowed. It's a trap. Panic started to rise in her voice. He's in danger. We need to go help him right now. But Dayan stepped in front of her. Wait. Do you even know where the bandits are hiding? Elder Yang should be home, she replied quickly. We can ask him. He'll know. Dayan nodded. All right. He gently grabbed her wrist and said, but first, calm down. And at that moment, a strange wave of familiarity washed over Jin Hyun. This feeling, it's just like in my dreams. Dayan spoke again, voice steady. Your grandfather isn't someone who'll go down easily. Then he continued, pack up what you need. There might be more of them coming. Got it, Jin Hyun answered, obediently. Somewhere else, a commotion broke out in a nearby house. I don't know anything. Why are you asking me this? Jin Hyun grew even more anxious. What? Grandpa definitely went there. But Dayan raised his hand. Hold on. Someone's watching us. A loud crash echoed, followed by a scream. Inside. Elder Yang collapsed to his knees, trembling. I'm sorry, Hyun. His voice shook as he began to confess everything. That man who claimed to be my nephew Yang Chunsum, he was an imposter. They threatened to kill my whole family if I didn't obey. I was desperate. Jin Hyun stared at him in disbelief. Elder Yang, you were the only person we trusted. Why? If you had just told Grandpa, he could have protected you. But Yang suddenly snapped, shouting, don't give me that nonsense. His face twisted with frustration as he lashed out, help me. If the two of you leave this town, my whole family is done for. I told you our lives are on the line. They even forced me to drink poison. After saying that, he broke down, burying his face in his hands, overwhelmed by guilt and fear. Jin Hyun's eyes widened in shock. They made you drink poison. Guilt rushed in like a tide. Grandpa is walking into a trap, and now even Mr. Yang has been threatened. This is all my fault. People keep getting hurt because of me. But just then, Lim Dayan quietly extended a bottle of water to the old man. Here. Drink this. Yang, trembling with fear, accepted the bottle anyway. Poison? If it is, I won't hesitate. Just please spare my family. He took a deep gulp. And only after that, Dayan calmly said, relax. We're not like them. The old man looked down at the bottle, stunned. Wait, is this the antidote? But why would you do this for me? Lim Dayan didn't hesitate. We need information. If you can write down where they're hiding, we want to know where they're planning to ambush Hyun's grandfather. Yang was overwhelmed with gratitude. Thank you, thank you. He quickly scribbled down the location. They're holed up in Sanryongki. Meanwhile, a short distance away, Ilho groaned, pressing down on his bleeding wound. That old bastard, he's a monster. Jian Hung, now surrounded, stood alone against a swarm of assassins. Even in old age, even with missing teeth, he was still a tiger. Still a warrior. You bloodthirsty bastards. He shouted, eyes blazing. He knew exactly why they were here. For money. For blood. And they were after Hyun. I need to escape fast. Throw the iron net. Ilho barked. Jeon-hung fought back with all he had, but the steel net dropped down, wrapping around him with a heavy clatter. He was finally subdued. Ilho stepped forward alone, waving off his men. Back away. I'll handle this. Jeon-hung growled, Yeonchunsum, you snake. Sneaking up from behind like that. Ilho grinned, full of arrogance. Took a lot to catch you, huh? Jeon-hung, the sword tiger, the last survivor of the Jade Gate massacre. That name struck a nerve. Jeon-hung clenched his fists. But then I found out there are 2 survivors of the Sword Emperor's bloodline. Now that we've caught you, don't die too soon unless you want us to play with your sweet little granddaughter instead. Ilho's voice was cruel, smug as he leaned in. So tell me, where's the Sword Emperor's manual? But Jeon-hung spat back. Don't make me laugh. Ilho muttered to himself, we'll never find it without intel. We have to squeeze it out of the old man. The thugs here were nothing more than mercenaries. The real client had one objective: find Jin Hyun, the survivor of that day. But after digging deeper, Ilho realized what the true prize was. The Sword Emperor's martial manual. He smirked wickedly. If you won't give it to me, maybe we'll just let your little granddaughter find it for us. Seeing Jeon-hung remain silent, he pressed harder. You've been poisoned. You're dying. Isn't it time to save your only family? But Jeon-hung knew better. These people, even if he handed the manual over, they'd never let Hyun go. Is there really no way left to save her? That's when a calm but sharp voice cut through the chaos. You're hurt worse than I thought. Everyone turned their heads. There he stood, Lim Dae-in. Old man. You're still breathing, aren't you? Ilho scoffed, still underestimating him. You? That useless guy from the inn. What the hell are you doing here? Should have killed you when I had the chance. Ilho raised his sword, but suddenly, a strange feeling gripped him. This aura, what is this feeling? Why does it feel so? Lim Dae-in stepped forward, his voice cold and steady. Do whatever you want. I don't have to hold back anymore. Lim Dae-in stood tall and unshaken, declaring with steely confidence, do whatever you want. I don't have to hold back for anyone anymore. That was when Ilho finally sensed it, that overwhelming pressure. I thought he wasn't even a second-rate martial artist, but he was hiding this much power. Fear gripped him. I can't even land a single hit. If I move carelessly, I'll die. He's a monster. Ilho's pride crumbled. He dropped his sword and fell to his knees. Please spare me. I was forced into this. They took my wife and kids hostage. I had no choice. But before he could say another word, crack. Lim Dae-in's fist crashed down on his skull, slamming him into the ground with such force that the earth beneath fractured like shattered glass. Don't try to play the victim. Pay the price for everything you've done. At that moment, Jin Hyun arrived on the scene, eyes wide with panic. Grandpa. Are you okay? Despite his injuries, Jeon-hung looked up weakly, smiling. Hyun. Are you safe? Thank heaven you're okay. She ran to him, tears falling freely. But why is it only me who's unharmed? How can I accept that when you're like this? He took a shaky breath and whispered, Hyun, I need you to listen carefully. Her hands trembled. Why are you talking like this is the last time? With what little strength he had left, Jeon-hung began transmitting his voice directly into her mind. Namgun Hyun. You are the bloodline of the great Sword Emperor, and of my son, the Sword Lion Jeon-hung. The evil cult is not your only enemy. Even the Murim Alliance wants you dead. He handed her a small scroll. This is the proof. The Murim Alliance was involved in that massacre. Jin Hyun's eyes widened with realization. He continued, I've said this countless times, but I'll say it once more. Live. Disappear into the crowd. Hide until they stop hunting you. Suddenly, Lim Dae-in interrupted, sorry to butt in, but how are you feeling? Jeon-hung was pale, barely able to stay conscious. Not great. You saved Hyun, didn't you? I never thought I'd be lecturing a martial arts master about training. Lim Dae-in simply nodded. Can't blame you. I was pretending to be normal, after all. Then Jeon-hung looked him in the eye. Would you grant a dying man's final wish? But before he could finish his sentence, Lim Dae-in pulled out 3 small bottles and poured them straight down his throat. What the cough, you bastard? Even Jin Hyun was caught off guard. Grandpa. Jeon-hung sputtered and glared. You little punk. Who force-feeds a dying old man like that? This really is your actual personality, isn't it? But then Jin Hyun noticed something. Wait, Grandpa, Your wounds. His skin was visibly healing. Energy returned to his body. He sat up. You had that kind of miracle medicine all along. Jin Hyun burst into tears of joy, throwing her arms around him. Grandpa. Jeon Hung was speechless, overcome with emotion. How can I ever repay this debt? Thank you. Truly. Jin Hyun echoed the gratitude. Thank you, Daein. Really? Lim Daein gave a sheepish grin. Well, actually, I do have a small favor to ask. Jeon Hung smiled warmly. Anything, just as long as it doesn't get us killed. But the moment Lim Daein spoke, both their expressions dropped. I need help retrieving something. Jin Hyun's face twisted. The Murim Alliance. Why them? Even Jeon Hung was uneasy. Wait, hold on, what is it you're after? Lim Daein answered calmly. The Celestial Sword. I'm going to claim it. It's vital for a swordsman like me. He explained in full. 3 years ago, the sword was discovered in the Cheonghae region, buried near a collapsed cave, cause unknown. But what stood out was that a golden monkey was seen clutching the sword when it was found. Lim Daein remembered one line from the book more clearly than any other: if even a monkey can learn swordsmanship, there's no reason it can't learn. That phrase kept echoing in his mind. Could it be the golden monkey the Sword Emperor once trained? If the creature was still alive, it must have become something extraordinary. On their way back, Jeon Hung started piecing the story together himself. So the Sword Emperor reclaimed the blade, but the golden monkey outsmarted him and escaped. He clenched his fists. Well, I'm not dying to a monkey, that's for sure. As he walked behind Lim Daein, he silently evaluated the young man. This kid, there's something about him. He really might be the Sword Emperor's successor, even if the rest of his story sounds like total nonsense. Jin Hyun too found herself drawn to him. So this is the real him, serious, dependable. Somehow I felt it from the first moment we met, like I'd known him forever. Lim Daein, sensing their stares, grew visibly uncomfortable. How long are you two planning to keep staring at me like that? He decided it was time to be honest. He told them everything. How he had inherited the Sword Emperor's techniques. How he wasn't even from this world but another dimension entirely. There was a heavy silence before Jeon Hung finally spoke, a little sheepish. I still don't really understand half of what you said, but if you can really heal Hyun, then I'll go wherever you need me to. Jin Hyun nodded right away. Same here. If we go to your world, they'll stop hunting me, right? Lim Daein thought to himself, just as I hoped. Both of them agreed to follow me. In exchange, he'd made them two promises. 1. He would help them leave the Murim world and settle on Earth. 2. He would cure Namgun Hyun's illness once and for all. He was well aware of her condition. Namgun Hyun suffered from a rare, nearly fatal constitution, Heaven's Yin veins. Her blood vessels were naturally clogged, blocking the flow of energy. A normal person wouldn't survive past age 15, let alone practice martial arts. But Lim Daein had a plan. To treat Heaven's Yin veins, he explained, we'll need a top-grade spiritual elixir and the help of 2 master-level martial artists. He looked at them calmly. I have plenty of top-grade elixirs. And finding 2 martial arts masters? That's no big deal. Then he turned to Jin Hyun and spoke gently. I've already applied a temporary fix. Your condition won't worsen for now. But we'll need to return to Earth before beginning full treatment. She finally understood. So that's why I've been feeling better each morning. That was you. Jeon Hung was visibly shocked. It's true. You really saved my life, and now you're healing Hyun too? Please, you have my eternal gratitude. Flustered, Lim Daein waved his hands awkwardly. Please don't do that. It's too much pressure, but deep down he had it all mapped out. His next steps were crystal clear. Phase 1: travel to the Murim Alliance headquarters with Namgun Hyun and Jeon Hung. Maintain secrecy. Move quickly. Avoid attention. Phase 2: once inside, carefully reveal their true identities, but only to a select group, the former guardians of the Sword Emperor. Step 3 of the plan was the most critical. The Murim Alliance currently claimed possession of the Celestial Sword, a treasure they took immense pride in. The Alliance valued honor and transparency, and by their own doctrine, only a direct descendant or successor of the Sword Emperor had the right to wield the sword. But 15 years ago, the Sword Emperor's entire sect was wiped out. And so, under that convenient excuse, the Murim Alliance had taken the sword for themselves. Jeon Hung frowned. They won't give it up so easily. They'll make excuses, stall for time, maybe even rewrite history. Lim Daein nodded calmly. That's why we'll just request to see the sword. That's all we need. He smiled to himself. After all, The celestial sword isn't my true goal, it's what's hidden inside. But Jin Hyun's voice suddenly cracked through his thoughts. What if they don't acknowledge me? I mean, I wasn't even born in this world. Lim Dae-in paused. What do you mean? It was Jeon Hung who answered, his voice heavy with sorrow. The tragedy of the Sword Emperor's lineage has been forgotten. He began recounting the buried past. When all ties to the Sword Emperor were under attack, his bloodline began to fade into obscurity. Nongun Sengin-hyeon's father and head of the Nangun clan was an extraordinary man, but even he couldn't stop the storm. His voice dropped further. We pleaded with the Murim alliance for help, again and again. But they ignored us. And because of that silence, he said, the Sword Emperor chose to hide the fact that his wife was pregnant. Hyun was born just 2 days before the massacre. Jin Hyun added in a hollow voice, there's no official record of my existence. The only ones who knew me were my grandfather, and the ones trying to kill me. Oh, and you. That's it. She eyed Lim Dae-in curiously. There's no way someone as skilled as him didn't realize I'm a girl from the start. He must have just pretended not to know. After a long pause, she finally blurted out her question. You knew I was a girl from the beginning, didn't you? But Lim Dae-in's reply left her stunned. That doesn't matter. He tilted his head, questioning right back. So, the Murim alliance wouldn't recognize you? Not even if a former master of the Sword Emperor's sect vouched for you? Jin Hyun hesitated. I don't know. Jeon Hung chimed in seriously. There's something strange in the air. The demonic cult has been moving, and people are nervous. It's possible they'll accuse us of being spies. Lim Dae-in narrowed his eyes. So we'll need proof of her identity. He understood perfectly. People who spent their whole lives running don't gamble like this without reason. That's when something clicked in his mind. Wait a second, he turned sharply toward the corner of the room where a sack was twitching. If those bastards have been chasing them this long, then they must have found lost records by now. His eyes locked on Ilho, still tied up inside the bag, squirming. Those cursed blood assassins, I'll bet they recovered the documents that confirm Jin Hyun's lineage. Lim Dae-in's gaze sharpened. If that was true, they finally had the evidence they needed to reclaim the celestial sword. And if they played this right, Murim would have no choice but to acknowledge the return of the Sword Emperor's heir. Back in the underground base, Lim Dae-in released the trembling man from the sack. I have a question, he said flatly. Ilo immediately bowed, his voice shaking. Why yes sir, ask anything. Lim Dae-in's eyes sharpened. Where is your headquarters? The scene cut sharply. Hope Foundation, Whitehall campus. A wave of chatter echoed the school grounds. Did you hear? She's finally awake. They say she can burn monsters to ash. I saw her do it once, burn one alive right in front of my eyes. Seriously. That's terrifying. Should someone like her even be in school? She's crazy strong. She even made one of the seniors cry last time. Laughter turned into murmurs until a loud voice cut through it all. I heard everything, you idiots. Lily stood there, fiery eyes glaring. Her outburst was enough to make her classmates scatter in every direction. She looked up at the rustling leaves falling from the trees, a quiet sadness welling in her eyes. School is so boring. Before leaving, Lim Dae-in had sent her a letter. Kid, I'll be gone for a while. Try not to cause any trouble. Go to school. Make some friends. If anything happens, talk to Cho Abraxas. And don't even think about following me. But now Lily walked alone, muttering to herself. So this Murim place, it's really that dangerous? Her footsteps slowed. Her eyes widened. Wait, he really went there. Alone. Her expression twisted with worry, lips trembling. What if he gets hurt? What if he can't even call for help? What if, oh no, he can't even fly? She clutched her chest, overwhelmed by dread. In her mind, images of Lim Dae-in lying somewhere, bloodied and alone, flashed before her. And that was enough. Without another thought, Lily took off in a full sprint. We have to go save him. Now. A chilling aura spread through the air. Lim Dae-in exuded an overwhelming killing intent, his voice cold as ice as he stared down the man still bound and half crushed in the sack. Where's your headquarters? Ilho's eyes twitched, calculating. Is he planning to go after the main base of the Bloodshade Society? If I spill everything, maybe I'll live, but do I even have the right to reveal something like that? He barely managed to croak out all right, but before he could even finish the word, Daein's hand wrapped around his throat, cutting off his breath with terrifying precision. His cold glare was sharper than any blade, and his fist hovered, threatening to fall at the slightest provocation. Judging by that face, Dayan murmured, I must have gone too easy on you last time. Ilho panicked. Wait. Please crack, smash, thud. It was too late. A flurry of brutal punches landed squarely, shaking the floor with each impact. Bloody and trembling, Ilho finally gave in. We're the Bloodshade Society. We take any job, as long as there's money involved. One foot slammed down on his chest as Dayan loomed above him, voice low and threatening. Now you're talking. What's the size of your operation? Sneveling and bruised, Ilho whimpered through his swollen face. The main base has about 100 members. Each branch is around 50. I'm the head of branch 1. That's why my name is Ilho. Without expression, Dayan pointed behind him at Jin Hung and Namgun Hyun. What do you know about them? Why yes. That's Jian Hung, the lion sword, the one we've been chasing for over 10 years. And that's the hidden child of Namgun Sangyin, the last head of the Sword Emperor's lineage. Dayan scoffed. I already knew that. Who's the client? Ilho hesitated, and Dayan moved in again, fist raised. Wait. I swear, I don't know. I never even saw the client. Sweating profusely, he blurted out, I only heard one thing, something about the Odis clan. At the mention of that name, Jian Hung's face changed drastically. He stormed forward, shouting, what did you just say? Did you say Odis? Dayan calmly held him back. Calm down, he's not even sure. No need to jump to conclusions. Turning back to the captive, Dayan asked during the pursuit, did your people gather any concrete evidence or documents about these two? Ilho nodded quickly, still gasping. Yes, everything we collected, intel, documents, even the old man's pills, was sent to the main base. We send reports every 10 days. That revelation hit like a bolt of lightning. What? Both Jian Hung and Jin Hyun exclaimed in unison. Where's the main base? The Bloodshade Society owns various properties scattered throughout the Central Plains. They change HQ locations every 3 years. Right now it's in Yuning. Without wasting a second, Dayan stood up, calculating the distance. We'll make a stop there before heading to the Murim Alliance. Meanwhile, Ilho sat in silence, face darkened. Damn it, once they find out I talked, I'm as good as dead. Desperate, he suddenly cried out, take me with you. Please. I know the layout of the base. I know the formation traps. I know how to contact other members. Jian Hung sneered in disgust. Look at him. Pathetic. Still groveling. Ilho shouted louder, and it's the 3rd day today. I'm supposed to send my report. I send one every 3 days. Dayan's eyes darkened again, an invisible blade of rage slicing through the air. An organization of this scale would definitely get suspicious if the report doesn't arrive. Dayan stared coldly at Ilho's swollen face. Then send the report. Just like you always do. Hearing that, Ilho's eyes lit up with the faint glimmer of hope, a chance to turn the tides. Yes, of course. But behind that obedient tone, a sinister plan was already forming in his mind. Once I send this, and include just the right words, they'll know what's happening. They'll wipe these bastards out before they even get close. He scribbled his supreme message, a coded warning disguised as a routine update. A wicked grin stretched across his battered face. You'll regret ever crossing me. Soon enough you'll all pay. But from the side, Dayan's lips curled into a knowing smirk. So you're still trying to outsmart me, huh? Cute. Meanwhile, under the bright moonlight at the Bloodshade Society's current headquarters in Yoning, tension brewed in the main hall. 2 figures were engaged in hushed conversation, their voices carrying weight. A letter just arrived, from Ilho. Are you talking about the man tracking the Sword Emperor's bloodline? Duko Jin, the supreme commander of the Bloodshade Society, raised his wine cup with a smirk. Yes. It's been 10 years. And it's finally time to finish what we started. His voice darkened like a storm, no matter how long it takes. Across from him, Manbako, head of Branch 1, chuckled slyly. The Sword Emperor's heir, alive? I'll believe it when I see it with my own eyes. Duko slid a folded piece of paper across the table. In that case, you'll find this quite interesting. With a single glance, Manbako's eyes gleamed. He recognized the markings immediately. A coded message. As expected of our Branch 1 commander, Duko praised coolly. Ilho's been captured. He's being escorted here by the very people we've been chasing. At that, Manbako slammed the table, disbelief etched across his face. They're coming here? For me? A twisted grin broke across his features. Perfect. I'll catch them myself. Finally, we'll see their faces up close. As the man cackled in satisfaction, Jin's tone turned deadly serious. Exactly. Now that we know they're coming, we can set a trap. I'll pretend to be a victim, lure them in, and crush them all in one strike. He paused. Then added with icy precision, your cooperation will be handsomely rewarded. But before he could even finish the offer, Manbako interrupted, a wild glint in his eyes. No need. If I can witness the heir to the Sword Emperor alive, that alone is reward enough. Jin narrowed his eyes. There's something off about this man, don't forget why I summoned you. Manbako's twisted grin widened. Of course not. I was brought here to extract the Sword Emperor's martial legacy. Through the soul-linking ritual, yes? He spoke with unsettling excitement, his voice trembling at the memory of that grand ambition to steal the Sword Emperor's techniques, erase their memories, and deliver them to the client. What a glorious plan. But then, a smirk crept back onto his face. Still, you sure are bold, Jin. To deceive the very people who wiped out the Sword Emperor's clan, you've got guts. Jin stared at Manbako with a calm but cutting voice. If you want something valuable, you have to accept the risks. Yet deep down, Ducko's trust in Manbako was starting to wither. Even if I cooperate with him now, he's not someone I can fully trust. This whole operation needs to end quickly. The sun rose, casting its light on the roofs of the Bloodshade Society stronghold. Somewhere nearby, a quiet voice muttered, so this is their base. At a nearby inn, Daeun's group had changed into plain robes and hidden their faces under travel hats. If they can disguise this place as a legit business front, Jian-hung commented, they must be raking in a fortune. Well, Ilho snorted smugly, our organization does dabble in regular trade too. Inwardly, he smirked, thinking himself clever fools. I already sent your plan to the commander. Things are about to turn in my favor. But before he could bask in his imagined victory, a sudden gust of wind slammed into him from behind. With a single strike from Daeun's crew, Ilho collapsed to the floor silent and unmoving. Daeun looked down at him, unimpressed. I don't need you anymore. He crouched, rummaging through Ilho's belongings. Let's see if you had anything useful. From Ilho's gear, Daeun pulled out a curious item, a clone mask obtained from the continent of Gaia. This thing worked wonders against that red goblin back then. He slipped it on and laughed. Voice checks out. Doesn't feel bad either. Nangunhyun stared at him, wide-eyed. Your face, your build, even your hair color, Jian-hung added. That's way better than those cheap human skin masks. Now fully disguised, Daeun nodded to his team. Let's move on to the next step. Night fell once again. The moon hung high, casting silver light across the rooftops. Near the base, two guards stood idly by when suspicious footsteps approached. Wait. Who goes there? A bloodied figure stumbled forward, clutching a wounded arm. Hurry, take me to the commander. The guards gasped. Ilho. Inside the interrogation room, Jin looked Ilho up and down, confused. There's still 2 hours until the enemy's expected arrival. Why are you in such bad shape? Daeun, fully in character, spoke with frantic breathlessness. Everything's gone to hell. We were ambushed near the inn. Assassins trained killers attacked without warning assassins. Ducko's face darkened. Daeun continued, eyes wide, panic mounting. During the fight, Jian-hung, he took the child and fled. I need reinforcements now. Ducko slammed his fist into the table. Damn it. So we're not the only ones hunting them. The client must have hired other factions too. Without hesitation, he barked orders, search the area. They can't have gone far. I want them found now. Just then, Daeun spoke again, voice hushed but urgent. Actually, I know where they went. Ducko spun around, eyes gleaming. You do? You saw them escape? Tell me. Suddenly Daeun dropped to his knees, his entire body trembling violently. Jin narrowed his eyes and shouted angrily, stop mumbling and speak clearly already. But Daeun didn't say a word. Instead, his hand shot forward, a ruthless, precise strike, leaving no room to dodge. Ducko barely managed to throw up a guard, blocking the blow just in time. So you're the leader of the Bloodshade Society, huh? You must be strong. But right now you're off balance. This is my chance. Ducko growled, gritting his teeth in fury. Ilho, how dare you? The battle erupted like lightning, their movements faster than the eye could follow, leaving only howling winds and bone-shaking shockwaves in their wake. But then Daeun caught Ducko's wrist mid-strike. And without hesitation, he unleashed a blinding flurry of blows, each one smashing into Ducko's chest, one after another with perfect precision. You bastard. Ducko cursed through clenched teeth, but he was too slow. The barrage struck him dead on. He crashed to the ground, motionless. Dayan stood over him, exhaling just once, quietly. Then he turned, walking toward the window. With a calm hand he opened the shutters. Outside, two cloaked figures waited in the shadows. Dayan gave the all-clear signal. It's time. Move in. He turned back to Ducko's crumpled body and muttered. There it is, take a good look at the face of the Bloodshade Society's leader. But just then a dark laugh rang out, echoing through the room like a whisper from the abyss. Dayan froze. He looked toward the window. A figure floated in the night sky, silhouetted by the pale moonlight. It was Manbako, grinning with a twisted, savage expression from atop a distant rooftop, watching Dayan with eerie calm. So you really are the heir of the Sword Emperor. Dayan's breath caught. His instincts screamed in alarm as a shiver ran down his spine. What the hell is that thing? Compared to him, Ducko-jin was nothing. This was something else entirely. A monster in human skin. The old man descended from the sky like a celestial war god, his body surrounded by a roaring storm of spiritual energy. Dayan stared out the window in disbelief. That pressure, it's absurd. Manbako's lips curled into a wicked grin as he touched down on the earth with heavy, deliberate steps. You're really alive. The bloodline of the Sword Emperor still walks this world. Dayan landed silently across from him, wary. Is he mistaking me for the Sword Emperor's heir? But the old man continued with an excited gleam in his eye. And you've even his gaze sharpened, scanning Dayan from head to toe. You used some strange artifact to hide your real face, didn't you? Show me. I want to see your true face. Dayan tensed instantly. Damn, he sensed the artifact. Wait, no. Mana and martial energy systems are different. He probably just thinks something's off. I should have expected someone like him to notice. Manbako stepped forward, eyes burning with desire. So you won't reveal your true face? You really are like him. That stubborn old man. Dayan frowned. What is he talking about? Is there some kind of misunderstanding here? I'm not related to the Sword Emperor at all. But in the blink of an eye, Manbako vanished. What? He reappeared instantly right in front of Dayan, face twisted in killing intent, ready to slice him into pieces. Then I'll just confirm it myself. A blinding flash lit the air and suddenly both figures disappeared, leaving only the echo of impact and a gust of displaced wind. Manbako instinctively leapt backward, his face contorted with wild rage. With a roar, he hurled a fist glowing with brutal energy, the strike tearing through the air toward Dayan. But Dayan twisted his body just enough, dodging by inches. He raised his leg, aiming a clean strike toward the opening in Manbako's stance, but something felt wrong. He pivoted sharply mid-motion. Crack. Manbako's own foot crashed into the block just in time, stopping Dayan's kick. The old man laughed mockingly. Aiming for vital points. You fight like a street thug. There's no doubt now you've got his blood in you. Chech. That's not what this is, Dayan growled. Before he could move again, Manbako's hand snapped forward, seizing Dayan's wrist. With a swift motion he ripped the mask clean off. Damn it. Dayan's real face was now exposed. Manbako stared at it. For a long moment he said nothing. Then, slowly stepping closer, he murmured, they say you're only 10 years old. But you've got the body of a grown man. Annoyed, Dayan snapped, obviously. I've been over 15 for years. Suddenly, an overwhelming bloodlust exploded from Manbako, forcing Dayan to retreat in alarm. Then show me the Sword Emperor's martial arts. Manbako's eyes gleamed with madness. You think it's just coincidence I talk between each move? I'm testing you. Every technique, every feint, has a purpose. He laughed, not like a man, but like a predator who had found his prey. It's an honor to meet you, boy. Once, I knew the Sword Emperor. But this is where our reunion ends. His killing intent spiked, pure, vicious and overwhelming. Let's see if you can survive this. Give me everything you've got. The ground cracked beneath their feet as the two warriors launched at each other, two shadows colliding at impossible speeds, and the real battle began. The ground itself trembled with each invisible clash, the battle growing heavier, suffocating, and relentless. Every strike from Manbako came like a hurricane, fierce, wild and unrelenting, forcing Dayan to fight just to keep up, his defense slowly cracking. Manbako surged forward like a starving beast, throwing blow after blow while laughing like a madman. It feels like I've gone back in time. How exhilarating. Dayan clenched his fists, trying to absorb the blows, but his arms were starting to give out. Damn it. If only I had a weapon right now. Suddenly a blinding flash cut across the air, the sky itself splitting in streaks of white light. A wave of killing intent swept through the space. Manbako's eyes widened in alarm. Ambush. A blast exploded from behind. Jian Hung burst into the fight like a thunderclap, charging at Manbako with terrifying speed. Don't think we're the same, Jian Hung growled. As the two locked in a brutal struggle, Namgun Hyun threw a sword through the air and shouted catch. Daein caught it just as Jian Hung took a devastating blow, his body sent flying, blood splattering the air. The steel gleamed as Daein drew the blade from its sheath. Cold silver reflected in his now frozen eyes. Then, with explosive force, Daein charged at Manbako, sword glowing with power, forcing the old monster to retreat. 2 steps back. Manbako narrowed his eyes. Nice sword, but even the sharpest blade can't cut through this old man. Daein pointed the sword directly at him, voice low and deadly. That's fine. I specialize in hunting and skinning. Manbako let out a booming laugh. Ah, that's right. Since you learned the Sword Emperor's martial arts, it makes sense you'd use a sword. I nearly forgot, I've been too excited. He slowly raised his hand, sinister energy swirling as he grinned. Then allow me to face you properly with a sword of my own. What? Daein blurted, eyes widening. Behind him, Jian Hung and Namgun gasped, staring at the sword still strapped to Manbako's back. A cyclone of energy began to spiral around it. And then it flew. The sword shot into Manbako's hand like it had a will of its own. Void Fang. The sword of nothingness. Daein's heart sank. This is bad. Everything's spiraling out of control. I need to retreat. But, Jin's injured. Hyun's exhausted. This is too dangerous. Suddenly, a group of guards appeared, rushing forward. Master, we're here. Let us help. But Manbako turned toward them with a snarl, killing aura flaring like a tidal wave. You meddling insects. Anyone who dares interrupt this fight will be torn apart. Then he turned back to Daein with a twisted smile. Now then, come on. Let's enjoy our night together, boy. The situation was spinning wildly out of control. Daein clenched his fists. Damn it, Sword Emperor, where the hell were you all these years? What the hell have you been doing? The fight reignited like thunder crashing from the heavens, each impact echoing like cannon fire, every shockwave rocking the ground. The guards could only watch in awe and horror. Dear God, was Master always this powerful? He should have been top 10 in the world. A new voice suddenly barked behind them. What the hell are you all doing? They jumped. See, Chief. Meanwhile, amidst the flurry of blades, Daein kept thinking, analyzing. He narrowed his eyes. I might not lose to him in internal energy, maybe I'm matching him in inner strength, but in everything else he's clearly superior. If I'm still keeping up, it just means he's toying with me. Manbako grew even more frenzied, unleashing a torrent of wild slashes. What's wrong? Your head looks full of useless thoughts. Daein clenched his jaw. I can't beat him in pure martial arts, but I do have one secret weapon. He hadn't planned to use it so soon, but now was the time. He raised his hand, and with a sudden roar, a massive azure dragon burst into existence, coiling and writhing through the swirling winds. Manbako's eyes sparkled with twisted joy. Yes, that's more like it. Now let's see it. The two figures became streaks of light, their clash splitting the night air, about to collide with full force, when a sudden beam of energy shot at Daein from the side. His face went pale. Ambush from the flank. He spun instinctively. Manbako snarled, furious that yet another intruder had ruined his moment of bloodlust. You dare interrupt me again. It was Duko Jin and his men. They had taken down Jian Hung and Nangun in an instant. What are you waiting for, you idiot? Attack him. Restrain him now, do Dokgid. Grinning smugly, he added, and remember, we've still got this precious child here. If you want them alive, drop your sword. I'll make you beg for death soon enough. Panting heavily, Daein muttered, every damn mountain has another mountain behind it. When does the climbing stop? Manbako blinked, confused. What does that even mean? He looked toward the child and muttered, if that's truly the Sword Emperor's heir, shouldn't they be delivered untouched to the client? Duko slammed his boot into Nangun's chest, snarling, old freak, what are you babbling about? I have the heir right here. Manbako turned his head, puzzled. Wait. So that kid's not the heir? Daein exhaled sharply. Deadpan, how many times do I have to say it? Duko, seeing his chance, shouted everyone. Apprehend him. Now do. But something had shifted. Manbako's entire aura suddenly changed dark, bloodthirsty, and freezing cold. The excitement was gone. Now, it was rage. And with a single move, he wiped out all of Ducko's subordinates. Instantly. Ducko trembled in disbelief. What the hell is this? You planned all this? This whole time? It was all deliberate. But before he could finish, Manbako charged him, eyes blazing. Don't act like you didn't plan to stab me in the back first. No, wait. Listen. The information you want, it'll give you everything. Crack. A sickening thud rang out as Ducko's skull smashed against the floor, silenced. Namgun stared, stunned. What? He wiped them all out with just one move. A master of that caliber? Dain turned to Manbako, heart pounding with questions. Didn't this guy used to be one of the Sword Emperor's sworn enemies? Finally, he spoke aloud. What was your relationship with the Sword Emperor? Manbako suddenly paused, eyes distant, as if pulled back into memories of a long-lost glory. We had a very special relationship. Dain's thoughts raced. So he really is Manbako, one of the top 100 martial masters in the world back then. I knew he was strong, but not like this. Still, if he wanted to kill us, he would have done it already. Sensing an opportunity, Dain instantly flipped his attitude faster than a pancake on a hot pan. With a bright, respectful tone, he declared, aha, so you were close friends with the Sword Emperor. What an honor. I'll forever remember your guidance today, and etch it deep into my bones. Manbako blinked at him with a face full of question marks. Didn't you say, like 5 minutes ago, that you were going to skin me alive? Our charming protagonist grinned sheepishly, rubbing the back of his head. Come on now, say that? That was obviously a misunderstanding. He gave a laugh so awkward it could peel paint off a wall. Under the moonlight, what started as a fierce battle slowly turned into an unexpected conversation. The leader of the Bloodshade Society ordered me to steal the Sword Emperor's martial arts, Manbako said calmly. But I never cared about martial arts. He suddenly turned toward Namgun, and the sharpness in his gaze made her lower her head in fear. I just wanted to know if the Sword Emperor's bloodline truly still existed. After studying her for a moment, he spoke again, this time with certainty, his words making her face pale. So it's a girl. Manbako turned back toward Dain, and asked in a low voice, Kid, you're using the Sword Emperor's martial arts. What's your name? Lim Dain. Manbako stared at him for a long while, as if remembering a distant golden past. The first time I met the Sword Emperor, he looked just like you. We fought once, too. Then, without another word, he turned away. Now that I've met his descendant, I'll be leaving. If fate wills it, we'll meet again. And just like that, he vanished into thin air before Dain's eyes. Jian Hung, looking like he just came back from the dead, sat up and groaned. Dear God. I never thought a master like that could be here. Namgun wasn't any better. I thought I was gonna suffocate to death. Dain recalled that moment, how he'd felt like his soul was about to leave his body. If that monster had really wanted to kill me, then no matter what we did, we'd all be dead. Clenching his fist tightly, he muttered to himself. I thought I'd gotten stronger. But clearly I've still got a long way to go. Then he raised his voice, rallying the group. All right. Let's get back to it. We still need to find those documents. Got it. At dawn the next day at the Blood Snow Society's base, one of the examiners, looking over the bodies, gave a grim report. Most of them are dead. Another man standing nearby shook his head in disbelief. One person did all this. That man in black was none other than Mo Yonks of the Murim Alliance. Looking over the carnage, he scoffed in frustration. What a joke. He said there'd be results soon. This is the result he promised. Yonks turned his back and walked away without another word. The Bloodshade Society was supposed to be eliminated after the mission. But Ducko Jin wasn't someone who died that easily. After all, he was still considered a top-level martial artist in his own right. Inside Ducko Jin's personal chamber, voices buzzed. None of the truly valuable items were taken. We should double-check for any missing documents. This place is a mess. You all leave, Ducko Jin ordered. I'll inspect this room myself. Yes, sir. He rushed to a hidden door and descended into a secret chamber, anxiety written all over his face. They never imagined I'd find this secret room. Grabbing a stack of documents, his eyes narrowed in suspicion. Was the purpose of this whole attack just for information? Only the materials related to the Sword Emperor were taken. That can't be a coincidence. Panicked, he burst out of the room and yelled, "Send an urgent message to the Murim Alliance. Get the fastest messenger here now. And investigate thoroughly, find out exactly what happened." "Yes, sir." Meanwhile, Yong stood quietly, his face heavy with thought. "I need to inform the other sect leaders, and I must tell him too." Back at the inn, Diane was fuming, face flushed with anger. "What the hell are you doing?" he snapped. Manbako had appeared out of nowhere again, wearing that irritating smile of his. "What do you mean?" he asked innocently. "I mean," Diane growled, "why do you keep following us?" "Coincidence," Manbako said, trying to sound casual. "Maybe it's fate, old friends crossing paths again. Come on, let's share a drink." Diane was practically foaming at the mouth. "We've seen each other every single day for a week. How is that a coincidence?" At some point, the old man had managed to insert himself into their group like he'd always belonged there. "What can I say?" Manbako shrugged. "I go wherever the wind takes me." "Fine," Diane sighed. "Which direction are you going tomorrow?" "We'll go the opposite way." "I'll go wherever I want." Diane clenched his fist but couldn't do a thing. The guy was way too strong to argue with, let alone fight. Then Manbako suddenly turned to Diane, eyes sharp. "Have you ever considered learning martial arts from me?" Jian Hung practically jumped up in excitement. "Congratulations. You've just been offered a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. I mean it, congrats." Diane looked dead inside. "No thanks," he muttered flatly. "I don't want to learn." Manbako slammed his cup down on the table, visibly shocked. "What? Why wouldn't you want to learn from me? Haven't you already seen how powerful this old man is?" Diane responded with a logic so perfect it was hard to argue. "Of course. Most young martial artists these days can't hold a candle to you. Only the 3 enlightened saints of the last century were considered on your level." He continued. "They say those 3 Ram Tao Wang the Demon King, Namgung Jirja the Sword Emperor, and Hajin Saja the Bright-Eyed Reaper all fought in the 100-Year Chaos." Hearing that, Manbako let out a heavy sigh. "Well yeah. If you want to be acknowledged, your feats need to be on that level." Diane's face turned serious. "What I don't get is, why would someone like you want to teach me? Is it because I've trained in the Sword Emperor's techniques?" Manbako slumped across the table and pointed at Diane with a teasing grin. "That suspicious nature of yours, just like Namgung Jirja. You're sure you're not his descendant?" Diane clenched his jaw. The urge to slap the old man was almost overwhelming. "This damn geezer," he quickly shifted his gaze toward Namgun. "The real descendant is sitting right over there." She flinched slightly and tried to change the topic. I don't mind. Really." Manbako, suddenly playing innocent, gave her a soft look. "I'm just teasing." "But seriously, how are you feeling now?" Namgun smiled brightly. "After taking the medicine you gave me, I'm feeling a lot better." "Thank you." Out of nowhere, Manbako made a surprising offer. "Alright then, I'll teach you some martial arts too. You've got talent." Namgun looked stunned. "Ah, really?" With a rare gentleness in his tone, the old man said, "I won't teach you my personal techniques, you don't need them. I'll just teach you the basics." Jian Hung, standing nearby, nearly teared up. "Hyun, what are you doing? Say thank you already." Namgun quickly bowed her head. "Thank you, master. I swear I'll repay this favor someday." Manbako gave her a soft smile, then looked to Diane. "You asked why I'm doing this, right?" He gazed off into the distance, voice filled with nostalgia. "It's been so long since I got to relive my younger days. I got a little carried away, swinging my sword like that. It felt like stepping back in time." But then, turning his attention to Namgun, he spoke more solemnly. "Even so, when I see how tough life is for kids like you nowadays, how could I not want to do something?" He then snapped his gaze toward Diane and raised his voice. "You too. Know your case is even more serious." Diane scowled. "What's that supposed to mean?" "Me?" The old man hit a nerve. "You can't keep using martial arts the way you are now. If you do, your body's going to collapse." Diane clenched his fist, pretending not to hear. "You're just talking nonsense. You've been learning on your own this whole time, haven't you?" "No, master, just some secret techniques the Sword Emperor left behind." Diane was taken aback. "How did you?" "Obvious," Manbako shrugged. He stared into Diane as if he could see straight through him. "Your inner energy flow is unstable. There's something foreign inside you. If you keep pushing your body like this, it's only a matter of time before it breaks down." Diane narrowed his eyes, unsure if he could trust what he was hearing. "Is this old guy serious?" Manbako pointed at a nearby cup as if using it to represent him. Your bones are sturdy, sure. That's why you've lasted this long. But the limit's coming, kid. Fast. Then he gestured to his own face. Look at me. Why do you think someone as strong as me looks like this? That comment forced Dain to reflect. If he really reached that level of mastery, shouldn't his body have transformed by now? His curiosity finally got the better of him. So you've gone through it too. Manbako nodded. Bingo. I'm speaking from experience. Consider this friendly advice. He leaned in slightly. But if you don't believe me, try focusing inward, feel your body. See for yourself if I'm wrong. Dain closed his eyes. And sure enough, he felt it, the subtle ticking pressure, the faint explosions in every fiber of his muscle. The old man was right. Manbako's expression softened, his face calming for once. So, do you believe me now? Dain lowered his gaze, voice quiet. You're teaching me martial arts, so I don't spiral into despair and fall into dark techniques, aren't you? Manbako exhaled slowly and spoke with composed sincerity. I don't claim to know everything. But when it comes to martial arts, there's only one person in this world better than me. I'll teach you how to control your body and your mind the right way. Dain stood in silence, letting the weight of those words sink in. Then suddenly he dropped to his knees and bowed deeply. I humbly accept. Manbako let out a gentle sigh. Kid, you don't have to bow like that. It's not a royal ceremony. He looked down at Dain with the eyes of a craftsman inspecting a raw gem. This boy, he's like an uncut diamond. With training, he'll surpass even the legends. In 5 years, just 5, I'll turn him into the strongest. And if I can't reach my own peak, then maybe nurturing talent like him will be worth just as much. Manbako made up his mind right then. I'll personally train you. I'll make you the greatest martial artist in history. As if reading his thoughts, Dain shuddered slightly. Why am I getting chills all of a sudden? Is this what it feels like when your body starts to break down? In a remote rural village near Hanam Hyukung, Che Nim and his gang of mountain bandits raised their cups, laughter ringing out. Today's haul was great. Cheers, everyone. One of the men leaned in and asked, Boss Che, ever heard of something called the Compassionate Twin Blades? Che scoffed, confused. Compassionate Twin Blades. That name's awful. The man continued, they're two folks from the north. Been tearing through bandit groups one after another. Making a mess of everything. Che waved it off with a grin. Newbies, for sure. They've probably never been in a real fight. He hummed a tune smugly and went on. I've never seen a real expert with words like compassion or hope in their name. Names like Black Wind or Madblade, that's what you call proper. The bandit next to him nodded. Exactly. Suddenly a cold voice cut through the air. All right, from the top. Reset the scene. Everyone froze. Please, spare us. As Che Nim sat there in smug silence, something flew across the room and smacked him square in the head. One of his men jumped up and shouted, Who the hell dares? A voice called out, firm and clear. Che Nim, Dain and Namgun strode in like they owned the place. That's the third one today, right? Namgun asked casually. Dain corrected her, fourth. Che glanced at them like they were pesky little rats. You little brats have some nerve. But Dain was already fuming. On our way to the Murim Alliance, we've had to clear out every single bandit hideout we come across. This is ridiculous. How many damn gangs are roaming the land these days? Exhausted, he raised his sword, his eyes lifeless. Let's clean this place up quick, and finally get some rest. You need to learn how to fight without relying on your inner energy or physical strength, Manbako said, his voice firm. Dain flashed back to the brutal training days with the old man. That's why I'm going to seal your internal energy, he continued. And I'll restrict the strength your well-trained body already possesses. Your task is to conquer the region of Bigjim-do. The old man burst into manic laughter, clearly pleased with his plan. You must focus solely on martial technique. No shortcuts. No crutches. Dain trembled all over, his limbs starting to feel numb. A cold wave of fear crept up his spine. What the hell? How can he come up with something like this and seal my power so casually? He tried to reason with himself. But even without going all out, I should still be able to deal with these bandits. So, is this training even going to be effective if they're just cannon fodder? Just then, he and Nangun stared wearily at the group of thugs blocking their path. Namgun exhaled, exhausted. If we keep going just a bit further, we'll reach the Murim Alliance. Yeah, Dain muttered. Once we get there, we can finally rest. Assuming it's that easy, he added under his breath. One of the bandits gritted his teeth and stepped forward, barking out a threat. Are you two insane? Do you even know where you are? Another guy squinted at them and whispered to his buddy, wait a second, aren't those two the so-called compassionate twin blades? They don't look like much. Must be overhyped. Yeah, they seem weak as hell. Chae Nim snarled, his voice rising. Tear them apart. What the hell are you waiting for? Beat them within an inch of their lives and drag them back to me. With that, the gang lunged forward to overwhelm them. Get them. Dain, calm and composed, easily blocked the first attacker's strike. The blade in his hand glided like a dance, tracing smooth arcs in the air, accompanied by a subtle swirl of wind around him. It shot forward with lightning precision straight through his enemy. I need to focus. From a distance, a massive axe came flying toward him. Dain remained unfazed. Even one small mistake, and I could get seriously hurt. Gotta stay sharp, even the simplest attacks can be fatal. A gust of wind whooshed by. The very next instant, he appeared behind his opponent. The strike was so fast only the howl of the air remained, like the whisper of a blade. Watching their men drop like flies, Chae Nim was livid. What the hell is wrong with you idiots? Still drunk or what? One of the goons stood frozen, then stammered out, no boss, it's not that. It's just, no matter what we do we can't land a single hit. God damn it, Namgun wasn't about to be outdone. Every strike from her blade was clean and precise. After cutting down her last opponent, she leapt backward lightly and smirked. Handled. Next. Enraged at seeing his subordinates humiliated, Chae Nim shoved his men aside. Move. Worthless trash. He picked up his axe and stepped forward, his eyes gleaming with murderous intent. I'm Black Wind Blade Chae Nim. I'll teach you how to show some proper respect. Dain watched him with growing concern. This guy's not just another random bandit. With my power sealed, I don't know if I can handle this. Then a familiar image flashed through his mind, Manbako's sinister smirk. If you beat him, I'll give you 3 days off training. That was all the motivation he needed. Son of a fine. Dain charged forward with everything he had. I've got to strike first. If I want to win, I need to go all in, Chae Nim roared, swinging his axe in retaliation. Get lost, you punk. Their clash exploded into a whirlwind of chaos and intensity. Dain's icy gaze cut straight through his opponent, making Chae Nim flinch for just a split second. Then, the bandit leapt into the air and slammed down a powerful blow. Dain twisted his body at the last second, narrowly dodging the attack. He pivoted his hips, channeled all his strength into his right leg, and swung a fierce spinning kick like an axe right into Chae Nim's face. The impact sent the man flying backward, crashing to the ground. Clutching his bloodied face, Chae Nim growled through gritted teeth, get them. Once I catch you, I'll tear you to pieces before I kill you. Dain's expression darkened. He shot a glance at Namgun. Hey, if you helped out a little, this would go faster. She sighed wearily. I'd love to, believe me. Suddenly Manbako's voice rang out from somewhere nearby. You bastard. You're supposed to handle this one on your own. Dain ignored them all, throwing himself into the fight like a madman chasing his 3-day vacation. Great, I was hoping to lure him out with a more elegant plan, but at this point, there's no choice but to face him head-on. Despite Chae Nim's massive frame, he couldn't keep up with Dain's dizzying speed. As Dain weaved around him, he recalled something Manbako had said: even being a half-step off is enough. Your body's not the same as the Sword Emperor's. Just because you're learning the same technique doesn't mean you should move exactly like him. Hold your sword gently, and think carefully about your next step. Unbelievable. A guy who inherited the Sword Emperor's technique and gets direct training from Manbako? There's probably no one luckier than me in the entire martial world. His brief moment of gratitude was interrupted by another memory, Manbako cursing at him. Lucky my ass. If I didn't want a peaceful retirement, I wouldn't have bothered with any of this. As he blocked Chae Nim's blow, Manbako's nagging voice echoed again. Hey, focus, damn it. Ugh, this old man just loves being cryptic. But then, something clicked. Wait, that last attack was really easy to block. Watching Chae Nim's movement, Dain had a realization. This guy, is he really this slow? If so, without hesitation he stepped in. His body dropped low, his blade cutting back in a flash of silver, slicing through the air like a lightning bolt. In the blink of an eye, Dain passed clean through Chae Nim's guard, leaving behind only the chill of his sword aura. When he stopped, he was already standing behind his enemy. Chae Nim stumbled back, clutching his wound in disbelief. What the hell just happened? Even Dain seemed surprised at what he'd just pulled off. Did I actually just do that? He looked down at his sword, recalling his master's words, your swordsmanship was already decent. Now, it's even better. I told you before, you've got talent. Talent. That word echoed in his mind. His memories began to flood back. I always thought I had no talent before I regressed. If I hadn't been used by those corrupt guilds, if I'd joined a better one, gotten the support I needed. If I'd found a real master to train me properly from the beginning. Dain clenched his fist and smiled confidently. If I'd had all that, maybe I would have been this strong back then too. Chain Nim stared at him, still bleeding, his eyes wide. Just who the hell are you? Raising his sword with a sly grin, Dain replied. Me. I'm just a guy who finally figured out he's got some talent. The people they had rescued bowed deeply. Thank you both so much. And for guiding us to the nearest village, we're truly grateful. How can we ever repay you? An older woman smiled warmly and offered. I'm on my way back to the inn where I work. Would you like to come with me? The innkeeper is a kind man. He'll treat you well, especially kind-hearted folks like you. Dain, clearly unimpressed, immediately declined. No need. We still got things to take care of, so we'll be staying behind. I see. The woman replied gently. Then, suddenly Manbako's voice came from behind them. If you want to go, then go. I already promised you 3 days off from training, didn't I? Dain's face tightened with frustration. I'm this close to mastering that technique. I don't want to stop now. Manbako shrugged. Do whatever you want. Before they left, Dain offered a few parting words. Just be careful on your way. Though I doubt you'll run into any more bandits. Truly, thank you, she said with a grateful bow. As soon as they were gone, the room suddenly filled with chatter. Hey, have you heard of the Twin Swords of Mercy? Of course. Aren't they those two swordsmen who've been making waves lately? The gossip kept rolling in. Thanks to them, I'm no longer scared to cross the river to the next village. They don't even take money or gifts from the people they save. Finally, some swordsmen with real compassion. The world needs more of that. In a quieter corner, a blonde elf girl whispered, maybe we should wait just a little longer. Across from her, a pink-haired girl tensed up and snapped, I don't buy it. You said the exact same thing last week, and the week before that. I don't trust you. Even if we go through the gate, there's no guarantee we'll reach Limdain anyway. Lily, the older girl, sighed. I thought running off the last time taught you a lesson. But Lily grinned, completely unfazed. Even if he's far away, I can find him thanks to this bracelet. I've already packed everything I need: lunch, dinner, snacks, even a midnight meal. Oh, and I'm bringing Malrang too. The older girl still looked uneasy, but Lily continued, we know the reason Uncle's late is because he's out there helping poor people. I'll bring him back soon. Even the White House Guild secretary will be happy to see him return. Suddenly, the blonde girl's eyes narrowed, her voice stern. Tetch. Kids just don't get the kind of burdens adults carry, do they? Anyway, I'm going. Get out of the way, Abraxas. Abraxas sighed dramatically to the girl beside her. You see that, Kiri? I tried to stop her. I did everything I could. But nothing I say works on that kid. Kiri blinked, flustered. Yeah, right. But Abraxas smiled brightly, a new idea forming. That just means I've got no choice. If Lily sneaks off alone, it'll only be worse. So, I'm going with her. Her words flustered Kiri even more. Really? That's great. If you go with her, I'll feel way better. Abraxas, if anything happens, you'll handle it, right? I'm so excited. Then the two of them turned to glare at Kiri, clearly ready to bully her into action. All right, Kiri, Abraxas said firmly. Open the gate. Yes, ma'am. A soft sunlight bathed the peaceful land. Yulgi, this was the largest city in the Hanam region and home to the Murim Alliance's headquarters. Limdain stood quietly, his eyes fixed on the long line of people ahead, a look of anticipation clear on his face. I heard a lot of people have been coming here lately for the martial arts tournament. A voice echoed nearby, loud and firm, please line up and wait your turn. Anyone who breaks the rules will not be tolerated. Zhan Heng slammed his hand on the table, his anger flaring. No matter how high your status is in the Murim Alliance, calling me a low-ranking martial artist like that is pure disrespect. In that moment, someone nearby reached for his sword, but a low, warning voice cut in, watch your step. The man froze as another voice followed. Cold and final, this might be the last time you ever draw that blade. At that threatening remark, the man's face twitched with unease. Clearly rattled, he sheathed his sword. Watching closely, the old man muttered to himself, "That guy might actually be useful." Lim Dian also cast a glance at the man, thinking to himself, he's no pushover. Just then, a voice called out from the registration booth, "Next. Step forward, please. State your name and place of origin." Standing before Manbako, Namgun Hyun and John Huan, Dian calmly extended his hand and replied, "I'm Lim Dian from Bijumdo." The man behind the counter looked at them curiously and asked, "Are you the compassionate twin swords?" Dian's expression twisted with annoyance. "That nickname?" The man immediately followed up, "Is something wrong with that?" Dian found him irritating, but Namgun Hyun quickly spoke up with an unchanging face. "People have been calling us that lately. It wasn't intentional." From somewhere in the crowd, murmurs started spreading. "Heard that? The compassionate twin swords? What a childish nickname. Seriously, who even uses names like that anymore? They look more like do-gooders from the countryside." The man who'd questioned them earlier now glared toward the gossipers, his eyes filled with steely resolve. "These guys really think they're hot stuff, huh?" Then, another voice asked calmly, "And what brings you here? Are you entering the tournament?" Lim Dian's answer was short and firm. "That's right. We're here to compete." After confirming his registration, he received an identification plaque along with a warning, "This is your ID tag. Present it if you're stopped at a checkpoint." He accepted it with a nod and quietly replied, "Thanks." As sunlight poured down, it caught his bold stance and the quiet hope burning in his eyes. The man who'd registered them spoke with admiration. "In times like these, with the martial world in chaos, we truly need strong warriors with kind hearts." The capital city bustled with life, the sounds of laughter and chatter filling the streets. Amid the energy, Manbako suddenly darted off in a hurry. "I've got something to take care of. You guys go find an inn, I'll catch up with you later." Dian blinked, confused. "You sure we'll even find a room this late?" "But alright." Nearby, Namgun Hyun spoke softly. "By the way, this tournament is really drawing attention, isn't it?" John Huan nodded. "Yeah. I've never seen so many people flooding in from all corners of the world." Amid the bustling streets of the capital, a particular conversation caught Dian's attention. "You think this is because another great chaos is about to break out?" "Definitely. It's been almost 100 years. Everyone wants to make a name for themselves." Clutching a jade pendant in his hand, Dian kept his thoughts to himself. "I'm just here for the heavenly sword. Once I get it, I'm out. I need to find it before the chaos erupts, and take the other two with me." Later, in a luxurious inn nestled in the heart of the city, a soft voice broke the calm. "For once, I actually feel like I'm living." Lim Dian leaned back, arms folded behind his head, looking totally content. "Honestly, a good meal. A clean bath, that's what I call truly living." She giggled beside him, visibly pleased. "And the food here? Amazing." He nodded. "Absolutely." Then, slamming a hand down on the table with newfound resolve, he spoke with purpose. "All right. Let's talk about what we're doing next." At that moment, a chilling scene came flooding back into Dian's mind, dark, cold and still. He had been kneeling on the floor as sheets of paper fluttered down around him. Inside the headquarters of the Bloodshade Guild, a trove of documents had been uncovered, documents directly tied to the massacre of the Sword Emperor's clan 15 years ago. John Huan clenched his fists, slamming the table in fury. His voice trembled with rage. "I want to bring charges against them." But before he could say more, the girl beside him quickly cut in. "I don't think we should head to the Murim Alliance just yet." Dian stood with his arms crossed, calm and composed. "Then we wait. Until the martial arts tournament is over. It's not urgent, at least not yet. Who knows? Maybe in the meantime, we'll come up with a better plan." Their discussion was suddenly interrupted by a harsh voice. "You fool. If you won't act, someone else will on all of you." That voice, Dian immediately recognized it and turned around. "Master, you're back?" Manbako entered, holding a flask tightly in one hand. "I went out to gather intel. The winner of the martial arts tournament will be granted command of the frontline forces in the upcoming Great Chaos." A quiet voice nearby muttered, "Poor soul. Win the tournament just to get thrown into the most dangerous hellhole." Still calm, Manbako poured himself a drink, slow and deliberate, every motion deliberate and composed. "Of course, that's not all. Word is the winner will also receive the elixir of immortality, one of the Mirim Alliance's greatest secrets. Resting his chin on one hand, Dayan replied with nonchalance, his tone dripping with confidence. Not bad. Still doesn't really interest me. But deep down, he thought to himself, why is it that he always tries to get me to do more stuff? Unbothered, Manbako continued pouring his water, then pointed at Dayan with his usual casual demeanor. But what if the tournament prize is the heavenly sword? John Hun shot to his feet and slammed the table again. His voice roared. The heavenly sword is the grand prize. What gives the alliance leader the right to use that as bait? Memories of fierce battles resurfaced of the Sword Emperor in the previous Great Chaos, turning the tide of war by himself. They all remembered the moment he'd changed the course of history. Memories rushed back to him, hundreds of blades stabbed into the earth, and the sight of that man standing alone, facing the heavenly demon of the demon cult. No one could stop him. And he fought for 3 full days and nights to bring that monster down. A fire burned in the heart of the lion's sword as his brows furrowed deeply. Only after chasing the demon cult all the way to Xingang did he ascend, he growled. Lim Dayan's expression twisted with frustration. The Sword Emperor fell in the battle against the heavenly demon, and the ones lucky enough to survive got rich. That kind of ending, maybe it's not so bad to be one of the rich ones. Jian Hung clenched his fists tightly. How dare they casually use his sword as a tournament prize? Next to him, Manbako remained calm, gently reaching out a hand as if to soothe him. Relax. No matter how much you argue, it won't change a thing. But Jian Hung slammed one foot on the ground and clenched his other hand into a fist, his voice resolute. But Elder Manbako cut in, his tone still composed, almost indifferent. I don't like what the Mirim Alliance leader is doing either. But this situation works in our favor. One of you has to win the heavenly sword. All eyes turned toward Lim Dayan and Namgun Hyun, who sat nearby. Namgun's brows furrowed slightly, a flicker of unease in her eyes. Wait, are you saying I have to compete too? She asked. The old man lowered his voice. You're the heir of the Sword Emperor. He was your master. Who else has the right to claim that sword but the two of you? Concern showed clearly on her face. But if they recognize me, whether by my age or the Sword Emperor's techniques, Manbako, sitting directly across from her, showed no emotion. His expression was calm, so calm it was unnerving. He spoke slowly, deliberately. You think it's that easy for someone to recognize the Sword Emperor's martial arts? Even if they do, what can they do to you in the middle of the tournament? Then his gaze hardened with fierce determination. In his heart he made a silent vow. If anyone tries to hurt you, I'll protect you. That's the only way I can repay my debt. Namgun pressed a fist to her chest, took a deep breath, and steadied her gaze. I'm only afraid I'll tarnish the Sword Emperor's legacy, but I'll take on this challenge. Well said, Manbako replied smoothly. Now, it's about time you stop pretending to be a boy. Start wearing lighter colored clothes, something a girl your age would wear. Caught off guard, she stammered. But I wear these clothes because they're comfortable. Manbako gave a playful wink to Jian Hung, his smile wide and cheerful. Jian Hung, go out and get the girl a proper outfit. Something nice. Red silk would suit her perfectly, I think. Understood, Jian Hung muttered. Namgun's face turned red, flustered and unsure. In the middle of it all, Lim Dayan remained unfazed, humming a cheerful tune to himself. Manbako eyed him suspiciously. Himph, what's got you so calm? You think you'll win or something? Dayan held his hand out, grinning with a sparkle in his eyes. If no senior masters show up, why wouldn't I win? Just then, a vivid memory flashed through his mind, magical energy swirling around him, radiating blinding light. After subduing the mountain bandits, he had completed his training. The old man had finally unlocked his sealed internal energy. At the pace he was going, he had already reached the pinnacle. Victory felt like it was already within his grasp. Manbako looked at Lim Dayan with a displeased expression, his voice tinged with disdain. You little brat, it's only in hardship that you find real opportunity. If success comes too easily, what do you even learn from it? It's the tough roads that shape a man. Dayan scowled and gritted his teeth, clearly annoyed. He chased after the old man, shouting in frustration, You damn geezer, get back here. Manbako yelled back. If it's too easy, the victory's not even satisfying. Just as the old man was about to catch up to him, Dayan clenched his fists and lowered his voice with resolve. Living comfortably and easily, that's my goal. That's exactly your problem. Manbako growled as he gave chase. You think talent alone, and that kind of mindset will get you anywhere. Suddenly, the old man threw a powerful punch straight at Dain's head. I'll take this chance to knock some sense into you. The blow knocked Dain out cold, dropping him to the floor with a swollen bump on his head. Manbako stood there smug, laughing victoriously. He had infused the punch with spiritual power. Dain's brows twitched and his teeth clenched tightly. Damn it, he thought. With a calm voice, Manbako said, I won't let you use your inner or outer power freely. You're only allowed to use 20%. Dain muttered under his breath. Fine. Still lying there, he stared at the old man with growing irritation. Maybe after this damn tournament, I'll just go back to Earth. Manbako pointed at him and snapped. I'm only doing what's best for you. Then, with a smug grin, he raised a finger and said coolly, if you win, I'll teach you a sword technique tailored exactly for you. Dain responded quietly, I can win. Even if it won't be easy. Without another word, Manbako turned around and waved his hand, summoning back the 3 swords of the Sword Emperor's descendant. His voice was emotionless. Still, you have to win. This is no longer just ordinary swordplay. Watch closely. Namgun Hyun froze at the sight, her voice low and stunned. My sword, the old man's hands moved, and the 3 blades began to dance in the air, each following a different rhythm. Both Namgun and Jian Hung stood frozen, shocked by what they were seeing. I can't believe this is real, she whispered. Lim Dayan's eyes sparkled with admiration and awe as he stared at the technique. With a smug face, Manbako asked, well? Do you want to learn it? Dayan suddenly imagined himself lounging on a sofa, commanding everything around him without moving. If I could use that move, life would be so much easier. I've got to master this before I retire. The next day, as sunlight flooded the land, they stood at the registration gates for the martial arts tournament. A voice rang out, sorry, but you cannot enter the tournament without a letter of recommendation. Jian Hung slammed the table with a loud bang, shouting, what? A recommendation letter? His face turned a mix of anger and confusion. Since when does a martial arts tournament need a letter of recommendation? This is the first I've heard of it. The staff member lowered his voice. It's a new rule, implemented just for this tournament. It's meant to prevent spies from the demon sect from infiltrating the competition. Just then, the employee's expression changed as someone approached, his face visibly nervous. A soft, graceful voice spoke up then. Where can one obtain a letter of recommendation? The woman, stunning in her bright red attire with a jeweled hairpin, looked every bit the noble warrior. Her elegant voice hung in the air. The 3 of them walked away, disappointment and frustration weighing heavily on their shoulders. Dayan could still recall the guard's explanation. You can only obtain a recommendation letter from the head of a sect allied with the Murim Alliance, or a recognized Orthodox sect. In other words, you'll need the personal seal of a high-ranking elder from one of those factions. The more he thought about it, the more bitter it felt. So basically they're saying that if you don't have connections, don't even dream of joining the tournament. Dayan muttered, irritation clear in his voice. Jian Huin fell into silent contemplation. Where the hell are we supposed to find someone like that? Dayan's thoughts raced. If we forge one and get caught, we'd be branded as cult infiltrators. The alliance leader isn't someone we can fool that easily. What the hell are we supposed to do now? Just then, a voice called out, catching them off guard. Oh my! The compassionate twin swords. What a delight to see you again, my heroes. Dayan turned at the familiar voice. Wait, aren't you? A warm smile spread across the woman's face. Yes, it's me. The one you saved from those mountain bandits. I'm so relieved to see you well. It's all thanks to your help. She glanced around, noticing something. But, where's the brave swordsman who led the charge that day? He had other business to attend to, Dayan replied calmly. This is my younger sister. The woman bowed respectfully. Oh my, your sister is simply lovely. Are you here to enter the martial arts tournament as well? Yes, Dayan nodded. But let's not talk here in the open. Of course, the woman smiled. Please come with me. I'll take you to my sect. I felt terrible ever since that day I never got to treat you to a proper meal. A flicker of recognition sparked in Dayan's eyes. Come to think of it, I never asked, which sect do you belong to? She answered without hesitation. I'm currently under the care of the Namgyan sect. As they followed her, the sound of footsteps filled the silence. But Dayan's thoughts were loud in his head. The Namgyan sect, I was going to decline. Rumor has it they're connected to the Sword Emperor's bloodline. He turned to Namgun walking beside him. You said you wanted to go, but are you sure about this? I'm not a kid anymore, Hyung, she said firmly. If we want to join the tournament, we need that letter no matter what. She stared ahead, eyes filled with resolve. We can't let personal feelings cost us this opportunity. Dayan sighed. So that's the only reason. She glanced at him, then added, truth is, I'm also curious. I want to know what kind of people the Nangjin sect really is. It's the birthplace of the Nangun clan, after all. The Sword Emperor had been born in Seoul, within the Nangjin sect. He was the child of a commoner, accepted into the sect because of his talent, not bloodline. Even from a young age, his swordsmanship drew envy and hatred from the direct descendants. They bullied him, constantly ostracized him, tormented him, even tricked him into drinking poison disguised as elixir. If he hadn't escaped, he would have died before reaching 20. But years later he returned no longer a victim, but as the Sword Emperor, the greatest swordsman of the age. He would go on to establish his own sect, the Namgun School. At the entrance to the Namjin sect, a voice greeted them. My apologies for not welcoming you sooner. This way please. As they followed, Dayan shot a glance toward Jian Huan and subtly asked, think anyone here will recognize you? Jian Huan replied quietly. I've used bone grafting medicine for so long. My face has changed enough that no one would ever know I was once part of Namgun. The clink of a teacup being set down echoed softly across the table, followed by a warm voice. That was quick. Lim Dayan bowed his head respectfully. Thank you for the generous hospitality. We truly don't know how to repay such a feast. The woman smiled gently. Please, think nothing of it. You are my benefactors, it's the least I can do. Curious, one of them finally asked, so, you're connected to the mistress of the Namjin sect? She nodded softly. I once served as the nanny for the young lady and the master himself. The mistress passed away young, so I raised them as if they were my own. Dayan gave a faint smile and glanced toward Nangun. Given that she lives in this private estate, I'd say she's someone the sect leader trusts. Should we ask her to help us get a letter of recommendation? His tone dropped, and his expression turned more somber. The truth is, we're having some trouble entering the martial arts tournament. Oh. Trouble? She asked with concern. With a comically bad performance that nearly felt like an insult to anyone watching, Dayan feigned agony. We only just found out that a recommendation letter is required. We came all this way and didn't even know. I mean, sure, I can fight bandits, but I don't know the first thing about politics. He clutched at his chest dramatically. Now we're in a really awkward position. Who would write a letter for someone like me? I don't even have a proper background. We almost gave up, completely hopeless. Namgun's eyes shimmered with emotion, as if silently pleading. Then Dayan turned to the woman, hitting her directly with his words. But then, we met you. He extended a hand, voice now steady and sincere. So I'll be honest. There's just one thing I ask of you, please. Help us meet with the sect leader, or one of the elders, so we can request a recommendation letter. If it's too much trouble, feel free to say no. I truly don't want to impose. The woman stood abruptly, her voice quickened with urgency. No. Not at all, it's no trouble whatsoever. I must repay your kindness. Please wait here just a moment. Soon after, a striking young woman entered the room. I heard you were the ones who saved my nanny's life. I'm Nanjin Yurin. It's a pleasure to meet you. A guard by her side introduced herself as well. Namgin Huia. All three guests bowed respectfully. I'm Namjin Dayan, an honor to meet you, he said. John Hung. Lim Hyun. We're grateful to meet you both. Yurin smiled radiantly as she welcomed them. The sect leader isn't here at the moment. I should have been the one to greet you properly earlier. I apologize for arriving late. Not at all, Dayan replied. Thank you for coming to see us. Standing beside her, Huia's expression darkened. She clearly disliked where this was going. Yurin turned back to the group. I heard from my nanny that you're hoping to participate in the martial arts tournament. Yes, Dayan replied. But things have gotten a bit tricky. We only just found out about the recommendation letter requirement. Yurin's eyes sparkled with thought. Then she made a bold offer. In that case, I'll write one for you. Huia's eyes widened in disbelief. What? Dayan froze for a moment, stunned. Wait, right now? Like, right this second? Huia could no longer stay silent. Hold on, sister. A recommendation letter represents the honor of our sect. Letting people like them represent us would be like smearing mud on our name. How can you trust them enough to write one? Their group stood helplessly, unsure of how to respond. Dayan glanced down, making a dry internal observation. Tattered robes, cheap iron swords, and that girl. Aside from her decent looks, there's not much going on. Huya clenched her fists in frustration. How could you even consider tying the Namjin name to a bunch of nobodies like them? Footsteps approached Yiren's group with a steady rhythm. So, you're worried the Namjin sect's name might be tarnished? A voice rang out. Namgun crossed her arms and met their eyes with a sharp gaze. Let me ask you this, do you believe you're qualified to enter the martial arts tournament? Huya smirked arrogantly. I may not be eligible to compete because of the age limit, but if I could I'd easily make the top 8. Namgun's smile turned sly. So if I beat you, that would prove my qualification, wouldn't it? You mean your brother beating me? Huya scoffed. Namgun raised her hand, casually taunting her. Why would I need my brother for something this trivial? Come on, I'll make sure you eat dirt. Yiren, watching from the side, rushed to intervene. Please stop her before she gets hurt. But Dain remained calm, reassuring her. It'll be fine. If she's stepping up, she must be confident. But if my sister wins, I'll expect that letter of recommendation. Fine, Huya muttered, her confidence shaken. Noticing her unease, Dain leaned in and whispered to the others, perfect. While everyone's distracted, let's take care of a few other things. The fight began and Huya quickly realized just how outmatched she was. Sweat poured down her face as she staggered backward, eyes wide in disbelief. This can't be real, I've trained with my father since I was a child, how is she seeing through all my moves? Namgun's voice rang out, taunting, you should really focus more. Shut up. Huya snapped, lunging wildly. Namgun's eyes gleamed with cool precision. You're the heir to a major sect, and this is all you've got. Every time Huya swung her sword, Namgun parried effortlessly, not even breaking a sweat. Steel clashed in a blinding flurry of sparks, the tension in the air thick as thunder. And then with a clean strike Namgun knocked Huya's sword clear across the courtyard. She smirked. Well? What now? Huya stood frozen, then slowly blushed, her gaze fixed on Namgun with growing admiration, and something else. That was just nerves. Let's fight a few more rounds, yeah? What are you even saying? Namgun recoiled. I have a tournament to compete in. I'm not here to entertain you. Huya crouched slightly, pleading. Then, can I cheer for you in the tournament? Namgun side-eyed her, baffled. Why would you? Because you beat me, that's all. Just then a commanding figure in a regal golden robe entered the courtyard. Father, Huya whispered. Everyone froze. He had arrived at just the wrong, or perhaps right moment. Namjin Zhongchen, the sword master. His gaze swept across the group and landed coldly on his daughter. Don't tell me you lost. She flinched. Well, but Jing Chen suddenly burst into laughter. I told you this day would come. You think I didn't know you'd be humiliated eventually? Haven't I said before your skills aren't nearly enough to compete in the tournament? Father, that's harsh, Namjin Zhongchen. A legendary swordsman known for his strength, fairness, and compassion toward the weak, a devoted family man, and a pivotal force in the upcoming great conflict. Dain narrowed his eyes, sensing something strange. But why? Why does he look at Haiyan like that? There's something off. And no one else seems to notice. Zhongchen stepped closer and addressed Dain's group. I've heard you saved our nanny's life. I'm this girl's father. It's an honor to meet the man who did that. It's our honor, Sword Master, Dain replied. Thank you for welcoming us. Come, Zhongchen gestured. I want to hear more of your story. Thank you for your hospitality. But later that night, a voice called out in the shadows, Byong. A masked figure emerged immediately. Yes, master. This Lim Dain, what do you think of him? Byong answered low and carefully. At the very least he's suspicious. As far as I know, there's no sect like the one he claimed in Guangdong. And his accent, he speaks oddly. Not local. A wave of cold, killing intent rolled off Jiang Chen. Exactly. And now he wants us to give a recommendation letter to someone like that? If he'd ask for money or a job, maybe I could understand. But this, his jaw clenched as rage flared in his eyes. Ever since that ambush on the Bloodshade Society's hideout, things have started unraveling. Who's digging up the past? Why is even a stranger making me feel this unsettled? He turned toward Byong. Find out everything. Why he's really here. Why he's approaching the Namjin sect. Yes, master. As Byong disappeared into the night, Zhongchen activated a hidden transmitter. Moyongs, I need to see you. But what he didn't know was that his words were also transmitted into the earpiece inside Dain's ear. Moyongs, I need to see you. Namgun blinked in confusion. Wait, is that something in your ear? Dying turned with a casual grin. Oh, this. Brought it with me from Earth. It's a lie detector.